a.m. Eastern on Studio B at freedomslips.com.
What is going on here? I demand an explanation.
We work for a highly funded yet unofficial government agency.
An intelligence organization that fears intelligence, historically not awesome.
The United States is a democratic nation. Here the people rule. We build no walls to keep them in, nor organize any system of police to keep them mute.
Freedom isn't free at all, but it comes with the highest of costs.
We have you, the listeners, and the hosts at
Revolution Radio
for allowing us to bring you the flash of free speech.
Another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, clocks for now. Time's up.
Wind is blowing cold and dark. On the road and no way out. A broken heart's a smoking gun. On the run. On the run.
It's Friday night.
From the broken down, low-rent, sleazy, double greasy pirate radio Nut Hut Studios, it's time for the very first ever Southern... My name's Jimmy. And in to the microcosm is on ya.
Like the sky encircling silence till I fall away. Black waste flooded on fire. Hidden road is the only way. Sinking into the sun.
epic journey. Hola!
I am here.
Excelente.
Unlike the whales, man, the whales went home, it looks like. I haven't seen any whales for a couple days now. That time of year, I guess.
Are you the whale whisperer, dude?
I am actually. You know, it's like it's an event, you know, when they get here and then when they leave. It's like the seasons change in the Northwest, you know, the Northeast.
Yeah.
Gives us big seasonal changes.
Yeah.
We don't get that here. We have the whales coming and the whales going. That's kind of the seasons.
That's it. It's like the breeze comes from the left instead of the right.
Right.
The whales come in and then everything's good. You roast a pig and pay homage to Hermes or whatever. Isn't that what he was saying the other night, that when you eat ham on Easter, you're eating the flesh
about, Nimrod.
of Nimrod. Yeah. Don't call me Nimrod. Mine's Jimmy, not Nimrod, and that's the Epic Journeyman. We're here every Friday night, 9 o'clock Pacific, is Revolution Radio, fully listener supported. Come on down, become a supporter. All you got to do is just mosey on over there with your little finger, click, 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 and boom, boom, boom. There you go. You changed the world. And you kept the free speech going. It's been going and going and going, and it's still going. And that's because Mike put it together, and it's still here. It's down and strong 12 years later. So here we are. It's Friday night. What are you going to do but come around and hang with the guys over here?
Something in me, dark and sticky.
He's here.
All the time it's getting strong.
He's there.
The way you're dealing.
His savoir-faire is everywhere.
Go on like this too long.
He's...
This time you've gone too far. This time you've gone too far.
the mule whisperer of the Talamanca Mountains, Bruce McDonald. Are you there?
Present.
So you're trying to get a mule, eh?
Yeah, I got a good line on a couple mules now. I can get two for $1,600. And I mean, for those of you listening, I don't know what it is about mules, and I looked into buying them in Nicaragua too. They're really expensive there. A mule can go like $8,000, man. It's like a used car. It is like the Cadillac of farm work animals. And they're not everywhere. They're not as prolific as they used to be. But I got a guy.
Did you just John Travolta? It's the Cadillac of mules. It's the Cadillac of workhorses.
Farm animals, work farm animals. Yeah.
Yeah.
When did John Travolta say that?
He didn't, but when he came pulling up in that minivan down in Los Angeles to collect that money,
Shorty, yeah.
He goes, "Hey, it's the Cadillac of minivans." So Bruce McDonald.
It's actually an enjoyable movie.
Actually. It was a good movie. I liked it, especially there's a bunch of really good parts. What was it that he said? What was the one line that homeboy from that guy, what's his name, with the gray hair and the brown mustache?
Yeah, the
hair,
monster got
the hair lip, dude.
Shaved.
Yeah, what's his name?
Dennis Farina.
Yeah, exactly. What did he get pissed about? What did John Travolta say to him that pissed him off? Do you remember? It's the question of the moment.
I don't remember.
He goes back and tells the other mob boss on the boat what it was too. Like, that's the big thing. The guy just looks at him like, "What?"
You know, you guys know, you know why I'm asking you, right? Because I don't remember either.
No, that's what it is. I don't remember either.
Somebody should know, though, somewhere in one of these chat rooms, in the microcosm.com. You can go over there in the green room, or you can cruise over to the Matrix chat room, revolution.radio, or revolution.org, revolutionradio.org. I don't even know, man. I'm spun out, man. I've been working all week. It's been hard. It's been long, and here we are. So I'm stoked to be here tonight. I'm feeling loose, feeling relaxed. I'm ready to, dive into this cesspit and see if we can find a pearl, I know it's hard.
We can.
It's hard, man. It's a hard job, but someone's got to do it, right? There's always one of those jobs you got to do, right? You get a new job, like you get some job and you're feeling good about it. It's like, man, I really like this job. This is one of the best jobs I've ever had. And then that day comes.
You don't clean the vomitorium.
That day comes when you got to do that thing that the guy that hired you knew you. He always knew you were going to do it. He just never told you about it until he got you used to it. You know, he gets you used to it all warm and fuzzy. Everything's cool, you know, and then they come in and drop it on you. What you got to do, that one thing you got to do. You didn't know you had to do, but now you're in a quandary because you got to make a decision. You got to make a moral decision for yourself. Do you want to do it and keep all this stuff that you have? Or do you want to just say, no, I can't because, you know, that goes against my principle.
They had the casting couch in these places, man. It's everywhere.
Man, it's everywhere. I'm telling you right now, it doesn't matter. You can extrapolate this until infinity, and it always comes up the same. And I don't care what you're doing in life. If you got some nice white collar job, you know, and you had a whole bunch of other ones before this one, but then you get this one, and now you got a key to that special restroom, you know, with the gold faucets and all that, and you got all this stuff, and it's all cool and good and well, and man, you know, your wife's driving a new car, and your kids are going to the best schools, and you got a fat chunk of money in your pocket. Maybe you're even sitting there for a year or more, or 2 years, or 5 years. But then that one day comes when that dude comes down to your office that you never saw before and tells you, you know, hey, buddy, I'm your boss. And it's time for you to pony up. Moral decisions, man. People got to make them. Making them all the time. What about, look at these shows, man. Survivor. Or any of these shows like this. Big Brother. Whatever it is. It's a bunch of conniving, you know, dishonest, you know, cutthroat. You know, it's like, what was that movie? Wall Street? With Donald, what is it? And then Tom Cruise Jr. What's his name?
The Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah, no, the original Wall Street movie.
Original Wall Street, yeah, with Brian Greco, whatever.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That wasn't Brian, but yeah.
And
Michael
Charlie Sheen, the fake Tom Cruise, was playing in that too, wasn't he?
Oh, right, yeah. Martin Sheen and Charlie Sheen, and then the other guy was the fake Charlie Sheen in there? The bad guy from Platoon.
The fake Charlie
a lot of
Sheen.
movies
Tom Berenger.
Berenger, yeah. It was the fake Tom Berenger too. He was in the movie Shattered, which is a great movie, by the way. But it's the fake Tom Berenger, not the real Tom Berenger. Got a sidetrack, sorry. But yeah, there you go. I mean, they always have the fake guy that's like the guy.
I used to see Tom Berenger when I used to go get coffee in this place called began with an L in Los Angeles. This is little Larchmont. I used to go to this coffee bean and tea leaf and drink coffee in Larchmont when I lived in Hollywood. I used to ride my bike over there to get away from the shite hole that I was living in.
Dude, you know what they sell there? This is no joke. Fat-free water.
In Larchmont?
In the coffee bean tea leaf.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know about that. I didn't buy water when I went in there. I got coffee. I didn't even know they had water.
Oh, water's fat-free. Yeah, they sell it in little bottles, little tiny, you know, pristine bottles. Fat-free, it says on there. Yeah, that's no joke, man. Especially by the ones that are by the gyms and stuff. So the trophy wives come out and then they go get their fat-free water.
I tell you, man, it's a trip when you it's a trip when you live in Los Angeles, man, because you know, depending on where you hang out, I mean, you're gonna see some people. You know what I mean? And that's the thing about it is like people are there, but it's like other people don't make a mess about it. You know what I mean? It's like you're sitting there in a diner and some dude, you know, there he is. He walks up. You can't believe it. He's standing right there, you know, ordering a pastrami sandwich. Nobody runs up to him and goes, "Hey, man, let me take a selfie with you, bro." You ever notice that, though? You know, people taking selfie with celebrities or whatever. You think the celebrities sat there and had a, you know, intimate conversation, really got to know each other and said, "Hey, man, you know, let's take a selfie." "Hey, Bob, do you remember me? I'm the guy you took that selfie with back 3 years ago.
14,312. Yeah.
What do you mean you don't remember? I want my money back. Bruce McDonald.
I mean, as far as not the selfie part, like the people don't really pay attention. I mean, they notice, but they don't pay attention.
I don't know, man.
Same kind of thing in Hollywood. The people who live there, right? Like it's like it's part of the gig. Let the poor guy drink his coffee in peace, man. Let that lady have her fat-free water in peace. Come on now.
Yeah.
He works hard for that fat-free water.
I think Britney Spears used to go into that same coffee bean and tea leaf. Larchmont's a cool part of town. There's a lot of little nook areas, man, in Los Angeles. But I don't think anybody's in Los Angeles anymore. I bet you it's a ghost town. I bet you if you went up to Bel Air, it's nothing but, property managers and landscapers. That's about it. Everybody
Arnold's
else
out there fixing potholes.
Everybody else is gone, man. You notice there's a lack of A-list celebrities on anything. You think it's because they might know some. They might be in the know because they're up on the inside tip or whatever, got the ear of the devil or whatever.
You know what it might be? There's not any A-list celebrities anymore. I never really thought about it too much until you just mentioned it there. But you know what? There aren't that many A-list celebrities anymore, are there?
No, there's
not
just
really.
one. There's only one. There's only one A-list celebrity. Here he is, too. He's the Vax Daddy himself. Here's Trump on Fox News.
And look, I guess in a certain way, I'm the father of the vaccine because I was the one that pushed it. To get it done in less than 9 months was a miracle. Fauci said it would take 3 to 5 years because it would take so long to get. I've been pushed before. I wouldn't exactly say they're in love with me. They have never. This is a very bureaucratic. They've never been pushed before, and that's why we have it. When they did the pause on Johnson & Johnson, I thought that was a very, very stupid thing to do.
There he goes. Former president, the Vax Daddy himself, Donald Trump. Without him, there would have been no vaccine, is what he was basically saying. And, I have to kind of agree with him. Go ahead, Bruce.
He the man.
He is the man, and I was mentioning it before we got on the air. And, this is our first hour. We're trying to wind into what we're going to be talking about because there's so much, like we said, it's a cesspit. We got to put on suits, airbags, and all this. But I just want to mention, I noticed this new picture of Trump floating around, and it's not just Trump. It's a lot of other people, too. There's lots of people that think they're among us, Like, where are all the A-list celebrities gone? And the ones that are still left, anyone who's left around on the B-list or whatever, they're like clones of the original. Not even clones, but, clones have to be grown. These are more organic robotoids with the holographic download of the person's brain, keeping them looking young and moving around. While they're long gone, sitting on that Cloud City or whatever.
It came from Tom Cruise in it with Corey Feldman.
Tom Cruise. It's Corey Feldman. What about him?
Well, you came from Tom Cruise. You go to see Tom Cruise. Next thing you know, that
you got Corey Feldman.
So Corey Feldman.
Why even bother? I mean, at this point, all I need is a little bit of video of you, and I can just deep fake your ass. Don't even need you anymore.
I think that's a big part of this. I do. I think that's what's happening. Like we're talking about no A-list celebrities showing up anymore, but really, if Arnold's out there not faking, but fixing potholes, which end up being gas trenches or whatever, and he's past his prime, and nobody sees since Top Gun, nobody's seen Tom Cruise anymore. Who's out there? There's some singers and stuff, but there's really isn't any A-list celebrities. I think you're right. You're onto something there, Jimmy. There are no A-list celebrities wandering about the streets, getting autographs and taking selfies.
Yeah, you don't see anybody.
Yeah.
It's a ghost town, and it's probably because of the financial apocalypse upon us. The apocalypse meaning just before Armageddon, we're going to get a download from Bruce McDonald. The apocalypse, Bruce. Give us the apocalyptic of the current financial system, because I know you were looking at it. Now, before you do, though, I just want to say, and I want to bring this up, man, just because, I mean, on this show, I'm going to tell you right now, we were probably one of the first people to even be talking about BlackRock, because we found out about what was going on in Texas with this subdivision that was built, and it was never built to be sold as homes. It was always built to be sold as a rental unit, and then those rental units and the extrapolated income were then put on the marketplace, and they sold it for some $130 million or whatever, and they got like a 40% profit margin off their investment, where typically, they go in there and they make 13%. And so once they saw that, we brought up BlackRock and Vanguard, because they were the ones that were really interested in investing in this stuff. And then now here we are 3 years later, and here comes Bruce with some more BlackRock information. Because, now everybody knows the name of Black. It's a household name, man. You know what I mean? They might as well start putting their logo on shit. BlackRock. Everything.
Larry Fink.
You know what I mean? Remember that generic, when shit was generic, it was just yellow and had the name of it? They should just make everything has BlackRock's name on it. It's whatever it is. Macaroni and cheese. BlackRock.
Yeah.
No,
what do you guys think of the name?
Macaroni and cheese.
Blackaroni and cheese. There you go.
Yeah.
Epic Journeyman. You want a job at the new marketing division over at Blackaroni and cheese?
I'll be right there, man. So if to have.
Bob, make it happen. But Epic, just remember, one day I'm going to come to your office and you're going to have to do something you didn't think about.
Right.
Bruce McDonald.
It's a small thing.
Bruce McDonald, are you there?
Yeah, man. What do you guys think of that name, like BlackRock? What comes to mind?
What comes to mind is the Kaaba. The Kaaba stone.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Kaaba stone or the Dome of the Rock, yeah.
Obsidian stone, which is alleged to be the material used to build the black altars for the human sacrifices. Right? It's all come for a full circle, boys. It's like Babylon is fully visible now. The mist is cleared.
Well,
so what's going on with banking? Well, so what's going to happen is, and this is what I'm getting a sense of by listening to various informed commentators in the financial world. And these are the optimists. The pessimists are saying nothing can change. But the optimists are saying that mid-tier and small banks are going away. And basically there's going to be a massive banking monopoly coming about, kind of like what Amazon did to retail, okay? It's going to happen to banking. And it'll happen at the regulatory level. So the federal government will withdraw Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation support for mid-tier banks. And one of the things going on now is a lot of banks are getting rid of mortgages, like house mortgages. Now, if you know anything about banking since World War II, home mortgages have been the bread and butter of banks. Why banks would be getting rid of mortgages is anybody's guess. I don't know.
They're not,
I
because
just don't know.
Because they say they're not buying mortgage-backed securities where they lump all these mortgages together. You know what I mean? Because they're saying that there's going to be a serious downturn in the price of homes. So these mortgages are going to be upside down, huh?
What would precipitate that?
Well, first of all, I don't know if people remember, like back in the 80s or whatever, not everybody had a credit card. You couldn't just get a credit card, and if you had one, the interest rates were out of this world. And so, the thing is you're going to buy a house, and the interest rates have been going up and up and up, recently. And then what if you can't? It gets even harder for you to get a loan. So so in California they have some program that they're offering 20% down payment. They'll take care of it on a home, and you don't have to ever pay it back unless you sell the home, and then you got to give them 20% of what you sell the home for. So they're trying to entice people. Now, Bruce? Why would they do something like that? Literally, they're saying they're going to give you 20% on a house, man. The average cost of a home is like, $400,000 everywhere around here. You know what I mean? So what are they going to give you? They're going to give you some, how much grand? They're going to give me $80,000, for down payment?
So let's just do a quick survey of everyone on the show here. I can speak authoritatively about Toronto, but so Jimmy, where you live, what's the average home price? Let's say like 2,000 square foot, 4-bedroom home, which used to be like just a nudge over middle class, not quite upper middle class, but you know, if you had 3 kids, you needed 4 bedrooms, right? A master bedroom and 3 bedrooms. So what is the average price of a home in various parts of California where you live?
Well, where I live, you're not going to touch a house for like less than 500,000, and it's going to be between 500 and $1 million for the kind of house you're talking about. A lot of these homes, though, they're owned by people that bought them back in the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But once the person who owned it originally, who got it cheap, dies, the prices just keep going up and up and up and up and up. And so the problem is there's not enough housing for the people. And so makes it really an unbalanced situation. But, you know, you see what's going on, too, is the crashing. And, you know, we talked about this a year ago, that with the everybody working from home thing, and nobody was going to office space, and then all of a sudden they realize they don't need the office space anymore, and now all the office space is getting emptied out, and now the office commercial real estate is crashing out. So there's nobody in that square footage anymore. You got thousands and you probably got millions of square feet right now that are empty. Nobody, and then you have all these people that have nowhere to live. Right, so I mean, the natural thing to have happen would be to take and turn these buildings into mixed living scenarios where you're, you know, paying X amount of dollars per month to live in these common kitchen floors, you know, old malls, old shopping malls, this kind of shit. Turn it into, and the other thing that people could do with these high rises, especially in these urban areas, you know, it's not my idea. I'm just relaying something that I heard that's a very good idea, which is to take and turn these high rises into aquaponic or hydroponic growing facilities. We're actually growing the vegetables, feeding the city that you're, you know, in. So there's absolutely no transportation fees for this type of food that you could grow in these vertical gardens in these high rises.
That'd be good, though. So they're not going to do something good.
Well, I'm just saying.
You just told me something I just heard the other day, and it's the first time I heard it. I'm surprised because I guess it's common knowledge in Europe. The power company that is so famous from the album of Pink Floyd, Animals, and I think it's the one that Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, or Willy Wonka, right? It was filmed in, right? That power company is now a bunch of condos, it's high-rise condos. They've gentrified that building. It's a historic building, and now the smokestacks are like flats up and down that whole thing.
I mean, I can't tell you how cool I think it would be to like get some old shopping center, you know, buying it for like pennies on the square foot because they don't want it anymore, and turning that thing into a, like, you know, because you know how they have trees and shit inside there, and there's nice, you know, skylights and all that. You could turn something like that into a really cool living situation, man, I think. But anyway, who cares what I think? What we want to know is what Bruce thinks, because he's been on this case. He's been sniffing around on the financials.
Yeah, so, I mean, basically we're leading towards bank amalgamation, right? Which is not good. Okay, everything, if you look at what's going on in the world now, everything is leading toward a centralized control. Now, the financial markets have been one of the last things that they have done anything with. Now, aside from, for those of us who are in the conspiracy world, you know, there was like a 12-month flash in the banking world. Help me, guys, what year it was, where all of these investment bankers were just mysteriously dying, falling out of windows, and, you know, car accidents. And
like 2019, it wasn't long ago at all. It was right before the pandemic.
Was it 2000?
Yeah,
I thought
it might have been 2018. Might have been 2018. Yeah, it was right around there. Yeah, it was after I moved out to Hawaii. So I moved out here again the second time here in 2017. So it was 2018. Might have been right around.
So, you know, for people out there who think it's all a conspiracy and everyone's in on it if they're one of them. It's not true. Okay, and these die-offs we see are evidence of it. Now, there have been a number of creepy die-offs in the last 20 years, okay? Homeopaths and natural healers were on the hit list for quite a while before COVID. Microbiologists was very curious. There was that plane that disappeared, and apparently everyone on the plane was a world-leading microbiologist. Well, why microbiology? Well, I don't know. Look at the trouble we're in now. I mean, anybody who might be able to speak out against medicine revolving around, let's say, hypothetically, ribonucleic acid.
Well,
so it's come to banking now. The great banking amalgamation is coming now. So we're going to get to a point where the concept of leadership in the world will have no face. Okay, it's going to be just like 1984.
It's going to be like
everybody
trying to complain.
We don't even know if the leader exists. We just see him on a TV screen or a computer monitor.
It's going to be like trying to complain to an auto attendant at some facility that your bill is tied up and you can't figure it out. Listen, something we've been saying, and I know you have information relating to this. Something we've been saying on here for a long time is that I realized during the pandemic when these banks, the way they were operating, it's like I had a Bank of America account, and the only one I could go to was one that was local to me. I had to go to one that was in my county because they only had one where I could go get my money out. So we've been saying that really, if you're in a cashless society, there is no reason for retail banking anymore. So these banks, like, well, you don't go to what do you go to a bank for anymore? You go sit there at the desk and talk to the loan officer. They don't give a shit about you. They just type in your social security number and see what your credit report is. You know what I mean? You don't go down to the bank and prove that you got a good investment or whatever.
No, Jimmy, you don't even know the half of it,
right.
Man. Everybody at home now, just look up the term open banking. Okay, open banking. It's what's coming. They just don't have all the ML and AI in place yet to provide the security. Okay, So, what's gonna happen is third-party players like Stripe and PayPal are going to start loaning money. Okay, like everybody's going to get into the money lending business. It's not just going to be banks anymore. Okay, and it's all going to be done online. And it's not like in the present model, you got to spend weeks making appointments with loan officers, getting rejected until you find a bank that understands what you're trying to do and will work with you. Right? In the new model, what you're going to do is you're going to allow your financial information to be accessible. Now, your bank will be told to put it into a data format where it can be accessed by authorized TPPs, third-party players, okay? And what will happen is you'll enter into a computer system like a portal, which is like an open market, like a Moroccan bazaar for money lenders, and you'll say, "Hi, I'm Bruce McDonald. I'm 56 years old. I own X number of hectares in Costa Rica and a home, and this is my annual average income. I need $20,000 to do this, 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 and this." And it just goes out, and they come back to you. "Yeah, hey, Bruce, we'll help you, 12%. Yeah, hey, Bruce, we'll help you, 7%. And this is the way banking is going. And what's going to happen, obviously, is they're going to tie the social credit score into this. So the funny thing about the way Marxism is winning is it's stopped competing with capitalism head on, and like the Borg, it's almost infiltrated the capital markets now, the Marxists. And they're going to use money itself as the central control system, which was the principal antagonist in Marx's original thesis. It's irony on irony on irony.
It is. Well, listen, I'll tell you this right now. So in China, if you don't keep your battery charged sufficiently, if you're not a battery charger, you don't keep your phone battery charged sufficiently, they use that as the criteria whether they're going to get a loan or not, whether you'll pay back a loan. If you let your phone dwindle down to 1 or 2%, then you're the type of person that ain't going to pay back a loan. Believe that or not. And I don't care if you don't believe it because it's true. And you think about it. You could extrapolate that one thing out. And, you know, it's boiled down to that point over there in China. You know what I mean?
Well, I think what you guys are talking about is interesting in the sense that if you look at it from the perspective of trying to the super wealthy, we call bankers the super wealthy, right? But they're the super wealthy. That's what they are, right? The idea of betting on people as proposition bets amongst themselves and using our social media behavior as a thing that it's like watching the horse being paraded out before the race, right? And liking the jockey, that horse, and then saying, well, okay, I like that one. And they're going to bet on you. But the thing is, it's not really them giving that $40,000 you need. It's the idea of them betting with each other also on how you're going to perform. I can see this tiered gambling system in a way based upon the information they gather on us through our social media behaviors, and then guessing at how good their model is. And the reward is the better their algorithm is, which is that ability to assess the horse in the race. In that case, the horse is us, right? It's going to be what wins. See?
So, but hold on a second, because here's the thing: if one of these loaners of money, okay, the loaners of money, these purveyors of this invisible cash that exists that they can just dole out to you, that doesn't, there is nothing associated with it other than them just giving you this credit. But here's the thing. Here's the point I want to make. It's not because they want you to be successful. They don't want you to be successful. They don't want you to pay that loan back. Because when you don't pay, they get to write it off times 3. So if you owe them $1,000 and you don't pay, they write off $3,000.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Where are you getting this? I've never heard this.
Yeah. Well, I know all about it. And so then what they do is they then sell that $1,000 account to some hack sweatshop where Mr. Green or Mr. Black or Mr. Red gives you a call, makes a deal with you, and tries to get you to agree that that's your $1,000. And once you've agreed to him that that's your $1,000, then they take on that $1,000 debt. That's their money now. And so what they do is then they come in and cut you a deal, percentage-wise, right? They say, hey, Bob, here, let us throw you a little discount on this, and if you pay it up, see, you just agree to make these payments, $20 a month. Once you agree to that, now you've back to assume that debt through a company that you never had a deal with. It's not the credit card company; it's a collection agency. The credit card company's already down the road from you because they wrote
it off. They sold out for 30%. Yeah, you're talking about the depreciation write-off. Depreciation write-off is used in property management primarily, but what it's the same premise. The premise is the more property you have and the more depreciation that you suffer owning that property, trying to maintain it, the more you get to write off, trying to bring it up to codes and standard to be a rental property again. Mm-hmm. And that is that write off. That is the very way that works. Is that you actually make money by having bad properties. That's why slumlords exist in the first place, right?
It's a never-ending scam. If you're not on the inside track, man, you don't know how to make that money. But see, something tells me that they probably bundle that up too somehow. They probably go, hey, Bob, check this out. If we write off 30% of our loss, what about this? How about if we extrapolate that loss throughout and project it and then turn around and sell it as a derivative? They do shit like that. No, I'm not looking for a job. Jamie Dimon, if you're looking for... No, seriously, though. There's no money in being good anymore. Everybody's got to be the bad boy now. You got to be the cutthroat to make that money. And so I mean the whole thing is absolutely out of control. I don't know what happened to Bruce. He vamoosed somewhere. don't know what happened, but he'll
He's checking the perimeter. I'm going to go hunt for him right now, actually.
Do you really? You can. You can go hunt for him, but be very, very quiet. All right.
And there's rabbits. Yeah. Okay. Be right back.
No. Okay. Yeah. Seriously, there he goes, Epic Journeyman, and there goes Bruce McDonald. My name is Jimmy, and it's Revolution Radio. It's independent broadcast network. It's Into the Microcosm every Friday nights, 9 o'clock Pacific, midnight on the East Coast. And we're here every Friday, like I say, and we're happy to be here. And we've been here for a while. Hey, Nancy Drew's in the chat. It's good to see you. Martin, what's up? Amber's over there. Nutton's over there. Bunch of people, 50 some odd people over there. I'm going to cruise over to the Revolution Radio chat room in a minute. I can't see who's in the Microcosm chat room, but whatever. There's a lot of chatting going on, and there should be chatter in America about some of this stuff. What's going on? I mean, at this point, I mean, the level of stress. I mean, we were playing this video last week talking about stress and talking about, you know, they gave the example of when you being chased by some, you know, flesh-eating animal, and you run into a cave, and once you're in the cave, you know, begin to relax a little bit. Okay, but if the thing was still out there, you could hear it growling and walking around, you'd be under stress the whole time you're in the cave and never get a chance to relax. And so why I'm bringing that up is because you find ourselves in that type of a situation with this current, you know, information superhighway is what it's called. And it's, you know, it's a hard-hitting news coming at us, you know, basically 24 hours a day. Every minute of every day, there's something happening somewhere in the world. You know, and with a filter on it, you know, it's just like a dragnet of just certain stuff. Out of all the stuff that happened today, they dragnet certain stuff that's going to, you know, push certain emotional trigger buttons on people. You know, you can make the school move any way you want to. Have you ever seen those giant schools of fish in the ocean? Oh, they all move. Sure, they all move as one, you know, in unison. You know, so I mean, it makes one fish look like one. It makes one small fish look like a whole giant fish to scare away the predators from just going through there.
It's hard to focus on one when they all look the same. That's the idea, right? So when they all look the same, it's hard to focus on the one because it's all one big mass. So that's where it's dangerous in some ways to be the one that moves differently. So when we're the ones moving against the crowd, walking the opposite direction, like I always was at Disneyland and SeaWorld, I swear, going the opposite direction in the park. But you know, you submit against the public opinion, so to speak. You're the one that gets sorted out. You're the one that gets targeted. You're the one that gets eaten in that kind of ecosystem.
Yeah, the sheep that's not eating the grass with his head up is the one that gets the head chopped off. The rest of them, they just get sheared. But the guy that sticks his head up, that's dinner.
The head up better be there because you're running. You're going someplace else, right? Looking where to go.
When the grass grows, it gets mowed down, doesn't it? I used to have this boss, and he'd say, "You better do this, and if you don't, your ass is grass, and I'm the lawnmower."
It's amazing those terms that you know. I won't call them endearing terms, but they're enduring terms, right? They go on for a long time. Now, that's probably from like the 1890s or something. That probably came out even before then. There's probably some Irish landowner back in the 1690s.
You know what he used to say too? He used to say, "Son, you know what burns my ass?" And I'd say, "No." And he'd go, "A flame about that high."
This high.
It was like nonstop one-liners, man, all day long. He was a great boss. He was a mentor. I learned a lot about life from that big guy. Big Bob Corona was his name. And he was what he sounds like he was. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I think Bruce is definitely not coming back. So let's continue.
What are you talking about?
Oh, there you are. Well, I don't know. You disappeared. I saw you, and then
I went to the back to get my new vape, Jimmy.
Oh, I see.
Oh, okay, I thought you were checking your fiduciary.
I got 2 stars left, and then I'm not re-upping, man.
You ignored my advice. at your own peril.
I looked into it thoroughly. It's in the liquid you buy. You got to avoid the ones with acetylene.
Yeah, you might want to avoid those for sure.
So
I was just telling. I was just
confirming what I said. J.P. Morgan Chase profits jumped 52% amid banking turmoil. So people are pulling their money out of the smaller and mid-sized banks and going with the bigger banks. Now, the irony of this is that they're trying to portray capitalism as social Darwinism, right? The strong survive, evolution.
Mm-mm.
These bastards, these fuckers wouldn't even be here if we had let them die their natural death in 2007. That's the irony of all this.
Yeah, well, it's not a level playing field anyways, because they're operating on information that they spend billions of dollars getting, or even creating at this point. You could create a marketplace, just like we did that show about the guy coming forward about some meeting in the rap industry from the for-profit prisons, saying, "Hey, if you write songs about this, we'll clue you into some profits over here on the prisons." I mean, once you come to an understanding of that kind of level of shit's going on, then at what point isn't it just like, hey, check this out? They invite all these people over and they say, look, we just want to put this in, as an ingredient. It's got some problems or whatever, but who cares? I mean, the amount of money that we're going to lose getting sued is inconsequential to the profits we will see by going ahead and using this instead of that. You know what I mean? I mean, how many times? I mean, we're just like it's like a guinea pig farm out here. You know what I mean? They're just throwing us some feed. Hey man, let's put this in the feed and see what goes on. I mean, let me ask you a question. How hard is it to actually smoke a piece of meat so it tastes like a smoked piece of meat? How hard is that in comparison to spreading some shit on it that makes it smell like it was smoked? You know what I mean? It gives you the impression of the smoke, but the smoke never existed for that burger. That burger never saw smoke. The only fire that burger saw, Bruce, was the inside of a microwave.
Jimmy, you're onto something there right here. I know you know that already, but the idea is time, right? That's the only difference is time. So what they're telling you with that analogy right there is that time is a more valuable commodity than the free smoker for all practical purposes you'd have, right? You can't wait the 3 weeks. The time is the money. That's the resource you can't regain, right? You need that. So it's better do it in 2 hours or 2 seconds with the chemical. Yeah, that's the economics in motion right there.
I remember seeing this. It was a 60 Minutes special. It was probably like 20 years ago, but I still remember it because it was a woman and they were touting her career. It's like, how would you like to have a career where you make stuff taste and smell like the real thing? And she had the one I remember was blueberries or whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, why would you want to make something smell and taste like blueberries when you could just have the blueberries in and of itself? Is what I was saying. It was what I'm thinking. It's like, why do I need a drone bee to pollinate my fake flowers? I mean, why can't I just have regular bees flying around doing what they've normally been doing, and I continue to eat the way that I did before? Just because you need to change the way food is produced doesn't mean it needs to become totally and utterly artificial for whatever reason. So it's an interesting.
Joni Mitchell.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying it's an interesting concept of where we are, because we played that City in the Future thing, and we've been playing that thing for over a decade already. I don't know how long it's been around. It seems like that many years, at least 5 years. And in there, it says that your life is based on your calories, man. And you get you're allotted a certain amount of calories, and that's it. In order for you to, if you want to go over your calorie limit, in other words, you're going over that limit, you're going to pay. And some people don't even have the privilege to even go over that limit, to get more or whatever. And it's like, even that in that video, it says she's taking her daughter shopping, and her daughter says, "Can we get some meat?" And she goes, "Oh, honey, it's not your birthday. Besides, your dad, he's working hard at the meat factory, at the computer company, or whatever." I mean, I forget what it was. I think it might have been a nuclear power plant or something. I don't know what it was. But anyways, the point being is the idea is that in the future, you're going to get so much of a box of food. Now, I'm bringing this to the table now, but I became aware of it about 2 years or 3 years ago. Right before the pandemic is when I became aware of this particular thing that's been going on. And you can see the ads for this shit all over the place. If you watch TV, I guarantee you're seeing ads where some young woman's got like some box that comes in, and it's got like 4 carrots chopped up perfect, and it's got a piece of chicken with all the seasonings in there. And all you do is take this box and empty it out into the pan, and throw it in the oven or whatever, and boom, you got a meal. But the thing is I was working for a major grocery store who owned a shitload of other grocery stores. And the thing that I learned right before the pandemic was that they were buying up these smaller companies that had this concept of preparing these boxes of food. And so now when I see calorie consumption being part of this new world order, I know that this is a thing. Okay, so calorie consumption is equal to your carbon footprint. So because of your carbon footprint, you're equal to so many calories per day based on whatever it is however you contribute to society. And there you go. So you'll have your I don't know what you'll have. I mean, Epic Journeyman, starting to look more and more like THX 1138 every day, because at the point where you just consume something every day, a piece of plastic, and throw it in the incinerator. Now I got
recycler and incinerator.
Listen, yeah. I got something I'm going to bring to the table now, because we've been talking about all this. Because when you think about this, we're coming to the top of the hour, so I'm going to wait until we come back from the break. But listen, think about it. We've been living for a long, long time. Our ancestors, our great-great-great-granddaddies, all have been living in a destructive society. So everything that humans do is destructive right now. The way that we do what we do. What if there was another way to do it? What if there was a way where you wouldn't be living in destruction and constant tearing down and breaking down, but you're living in a creative society where your whole society was based on creation rather than destruction? Bruce McDonald, Epic Journeyman. What do you think about that? Living in a creative society rather than a destructive one? Or do you even feel that we are in a destructive society?
Well, I don't know if I would say destructive, but it's unavoidable. You got to straddle the line here, right? So I'm not talking about climate change, but I think the case that human resource consumption on the planet is at a breaking point, I think that's undeniable. And I always use the fish stocks as my example. That's a pretty big thing, right? The fish stocks are really, really depleted. So how do we change? I don't know, man. Maybe insects are the way. Maybe we got to get some of that insect protein into us. I don't know.
It's not that, though. And that's the thing, is they're using that to scare the shit out of everybody. Did you know between the age of 13 and 35, the second leading cause of death in America is suicide?
I did not know that, actually.
Yeah, me neither. But I found it out, and it was because, lots of people feel like there is no future because they feel like they're going to be eating bugs and they won't have a job because robots are taking over. See, the thing is, man, I'm going to just tell you right now, we're coming up against the break. I'm going to say right now, listen, don't quit 5 minutes before the miracle happens. I'm serious. I'm serious, ladies and gentlemen. Do not quit 5 minutes before the miracle happens. You never know. I mean, the thing is, it looks bad. Maybe it is. But just as equally, at any given moment, just like every single moment some piece of shit thing happens, any given moment, this miracle could happen. Just as easy. It can always go both ways. You know? Mine's Jimmy. It's in the microcosm. We come back. We're talking about the creative society. One where we live in perpetual creation. Man, sounds like a dream. Maybe it's the utopia.
Some people want me to be heads or tails. I say no way, try again another day. I should be happy, not tipping the scales. I just won't play, letting my life get away. I'm no fool, no, I'm not a follower. I don't take things as they come, if they bring me down. Life can be cruel, if you're a dreamer. I just wanna have some fun, don't tell me.
We'll be right back.
Listen to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Hey everyone, it's Barbara Jean Lindsay, the Cosmic Oracle. If you have questions about your past lives or future plans, need answers from the cosmos about your love life or career, or just want to keep your finger on the pulse of the planet, check out my show, The Cosmic Oracle, here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com.
Don't miss the Crypt Rick and Jonathan Show every Saturday, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Studio B, right here at Revolution Radio. The journey begins to fun, health, and freedom.
Did you ever feel that things were not quite right? That everything was just ever so slightly askew?
Do you have, to paraphrase Morpheus, a splinter in your mind?
If you're interested in hearing the latest information about UFOs, the paranormal,
ancient cultures and structures,
monatomic elements,
longevity,
fantastic discoveries in science,
downloaded to your brain,
then tune into us. Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Mackie.
And we are Shiny Side Out, Sundays 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Hi, this is Robert Stanley. I'm the host of the Unicus Report, where we explore enigmatic events taking place both on and off this world. Please join me Mondays from noon till 2 p.m. Eastern on Revolution Radio, Freedom's Lips.
There have been imaginative science fiction writers for generations.
Be evasive.
But that doesn't mean that they're telling the truth as opposed to fiction.
I'm aware of some archaeologists that have uncovered large bones indicating giants in Virginia. Genesis chapter 6, verse 4, there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men, indicating that there were giants before the Nephilim.
And sons of God, plural. They weren't talking about Jesus coming down and
No, that's right. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I'm Steve Crawford. Join me every Thursday night in Studio A at 6 p.m. Eastern for Factor Theory Live. Find us on www.revolution.radio. Great guests and great stories.
what do you believe?
Join me at Revolution Radio, Studio B, at 11 a.m. on Saturday for Free Association, when we take a look at philosophy, spirituality, psychology, social issues, and geopolitics. It's every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern on Studio B at freedomslips.com.
I want to thank everybody for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the one place where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio.
All right, let's show them what we got.
All right, thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
Still a whisper on my lips, a feeling at my fingertips, it's pulling at my skin. You leave me when I'm at my worst.
It's Friday night.
As if I've been cursed.
Hour 2.
Days go by and still I think of you. Days when I couldn't live my life without you. Days go by and still I think of you. Days when I couldn't live my life without you.
We're here with Bruce McDonald, the Epic Journeyman, and we're asking a question tonight on Into the Microcosm. Coming into the second hour, I got a good friend and a longtime listener of the show is going to stop by for a minute coming up. Fully listener supported. Come on down, become a supporter. You can find my tip jar in the microcosm.com. The red button gets you where you need to be. Revolution Radio, become a patron. Go to the Zazzle store. 48 hours a day, 7 days a week. You'll find some information moving through the airwaves, coming to you straight out of Revolution Radio. It's the Independent Broadcast Network. My name's Jimmy. It's in the microcosm. It's Friday night. Here's Maha Sahona. I've been putting that band in heavy rotation. because I think they're great. They only have 2.19 thousand subscribers. And they have a bunch of albums, lots of progressive rock, if that's what you like. And I highly recommend you check them out. Maha Sahona. This song's called 2 Moons. And there they go. So we'll see how many subscribers they find themselves with. Now, I got a chunk of tape here I can roll, Bruce and Epic Journeyman, about the new future. The future no one's telling anyone about. Everyone's scaring the shit out of everybody about eating bugs and the AI and the robots and all this noise. And all of that makes absolutely no difference whatsoever if what we're about to bring to the table is actually true. You ready? This video is called "This Technology Will Change the World Forever. The Secret of the Replicator Finally Revealed." Are you guys ready for this? Seriously, man, I'm going to tell you right now, this is powerful.
I'm ready.
Here we go.
A new technology such as a replicator will be available to all people. A replicator is not science fiction. It's a device that works according to the laws of physics. Let's take a lobster, a t-shirt, or a phone, for example. In appearance, they are completely different, but if we look at them on a micro level, we'll see that they are made up of the same elementary particles. Only their number is different, and they are arranged in a different way. These particles form atoms, and atoms form molecules. Due to a given combination of these elementary particles, we get either a lobster, or a t-shirt, or a phone. The working principle of the replicator is basically to assemble the elementary particles in the proper combination to get what we need. A hot breakfast, or fashionable trousers. Moreover, they are brand new, already ironed, and of the highest quality. Everything depends on the program you've set up. For example, in order for a new gadget to appear in a replicator, you need 3 components: energy, particles from which the object will be created, the information about the sequence of their assembly. Energy has been successfully used by humanity for a long time, and the creative society will be able to use both new and long-discovered types of energy. Information about an object will be received by scanning the desired objects and uploaded into the replicator. A similar principle has already been implemented in beverage molecular printing technology. Any beverage is printed directly from molecules. The main thing is to have the appropriate amount of particles from which the object we need will be materialized. To do this, we need a utilizer. Unnecessary things will be put in it to be decomposed into elementary particles and placed into cartridges. And the replicator will create whatever you need with the use of the cartridges and information, so you dispose of the garbage and get everything you want. Having a utilizer, you will no longer need to wash the dishes. Just put in it dirty plates, a tablecloth with crumbs, and you're done. A replicator and a utilizer are devices about the size of your microwave or a small cupboard. The magnetic power inside them will help rearrange the particles according to a given combination. In milliseconds and at any moment, you get everything you need and completely free of charge, without harm to your health or the planet's ecology. A replicator will not only benefit every person, it will also benefit the entire planet. For example, to enjoy a delicious, fresh bun at breakfast today, a whole chain of complex production processes must occur. You need to plow a field, and you need a tractor for this. To produce a tractor and all its component parts, we have to build different factories. And all these factories emit tons of poisonous gases, whereas their wastewater contains dangerous chemical compounds. We also need raw materials that people extract from quarries and mines. To grow wheat, we need pesticides and chemical fertilizers, which poison the soil and the crops. Delivery of everything we need requires a huge expense, fuel and lubricants. We need transport, trucks, ships, and trains. Look how much damage an ordinary bun does to the environment. And the same story is in every manufacturing sector. In the creative society, all these destructive to the environment processes will disappear, as everyone will have a replicator at hand. Just press the button and here's a bun for you to eat. Everything will be enough for everyone, anywhere on the planet.
Everything will be enough for everyone, everywhere on the planet. What about it, man? What about
We're
it?
going to be eating our poo, man. That's what that is. Absolutely. The matter they're going to use for the poor, the impoverished, the lower class people is going to be the stuff from the wastewater treatment plant going straight back to them for them to eat. And the people on the top end of the scale, they'll get the stuff that's mined out of Botswana or whatever.
No, man. This is talking about taking something that was something.
No, I know what you're saying.
And,
they're saying
taking it apart.
Assembling the atoms and making
What difference
else.
does it make what it was when you turn it into that new pair of jeans, or you get a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken or whatever?
Right, but what's going to happen is it's still all economics are a matter of scale. So what's going to happen is that the people who are at the lower end of the scale, the most economical thing to do is feed them the most profitable thing that requires the least amount of effort for them to recycle, which is going to be their wastewater.
It's not recycling, dude. It's a utilizer. You throw the whole thing. You look. When you go.
I caught that.
No. Listen. You say I want breakfast, man, and all of a sudden a tablecloth appears, all the silverware, all the dishes, all that, a vase with flowers in it, all your favorite breakfast on the table. When you're done, you take the tablecloth. You pick it up and you dump the whole thing with everything on it right back in the utilizer, and
or
then
just flush.
And no, it's not flush. It stores the energy from the destruction of that material and breaks it down, and then stores it away, and then it uses information. It uses information to reconstitute the molecules and the atoms into whatever it is you're asking for. If you want a hairbrush, or you want a butcher knife, or whatever it is.
No, I get the concept completely.
So what difference does it make if it was a pile of dung and now it's a gold ring?
Yeah, that's how it's going to be sold to us. So the economy of scale is that for the people. So the more
I can't believe Epic Journeyman is the one.
I know.
He's the one gassing the utopia. Normally,
I know it's hard to believe, but
normally he'd be all over this. He'd be like, "Yeah, man."
No, I appreciate the novel concept of how good it could be, but the thing that I know is I know how the world works, and I know that the people at the top will harvest the pristine resources for themselves. Things that have the highest.
There's nothing.
Content,
there's no thing that has more value than another. There's no thing that has more value than another thing in this new society, dude. I'm telling you.
If this keeps up, boys, I'm going to be able to sell a food foraging vacation here on the mountain in one of my little rooms for $1,000 a week. Come, hey man, mountain stream water.
You can.
We'll draw you a little map. If you're a little bit afraid, you can take a pit bull with you. Go out and forage fruit right off the tree.
There you go, dude. Now you're talking.
You're gonna make that treaty with Juan Valdez.
That's an idea.
Go into business together.
That's an idea who has legs. It has time has come. But let me just say this:
it's actually a good idea.
Make sure you get that. You just really get the release form together before you're not responsible for the heritage site snakes that may find their way into the sleeping bag or whatever. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Or
if
you're
Satan
not.
gets you in this Garden of Eden, it's your karma, man. You got to sign the waiver.
That's right. But let me ask you a question, man. Do you have flesh-eating monkeys in there, in that jungle? They just.
Well, not that I'm aware of, but there is flesh-eating bacteria up here. One of my Nicaraguan abaca cutters got it. He had to go home for 3 months and heal up there with the medical system in Nicaragua. I had to get like 60 needles, and. It's fairly rare.
Have you seen these monkey gangs in Thailand? These monkeys are just
they're freaking awesome.
They just come out of the trees and steal hubcaps off cars. I heard that they actually stole a baby and shook it by its legs over the edge of a building. I don't know what they were asking for, whether it was peanuts or bananas, but whatever it was,
No, it was revenge. I read that article. It was revenge. What happened was they chased off one of the monkey clans, right? And they grabbed they snatched one of the kids and hung him up out of the building. Yeah, it was like revenge. Like, don't mess with us, man.
I know,
It was that level of thought that went into it.
I know, it's almost unbelievable. But I'll just say, now that I know that somebody else in the world read that article, I can feel a little bit more relaxed about.
Yeah, the synergy you guys have is actually a bit alarming.
I know. Well, the fact that he saw my blue skateboard back in junior high.
I did.
that was scary. But anyway.
My cousin had the same skateboard. Yep.
And it was a Bane, Bayne, Fiber Flex. Anyway.
Dude, Skateboarder magazine was all the rage right at that moment. You know, it started like in the late 70s, again, mid to late 70s, and it was all catching on. You got the precision bearings, got the trucks. You got the composite board.
I just remember having these bikes, man. These regular bikes. We would just put this motorcycle shit on there. And like the motorcycle handlebars would never fit right in the gooseneck for a regular bicycle back then. Because they didn't have BMX bikes. You had to make it out of, shit that you put together. And so the motorcycle handlebars would never stay tightened down in the fucking goosenecks on regular bikes. And there was dudes, and that was like when Evel Knievel was like the biggest thing around. He was going to jump the Grand Canyon, or whatever. And that Evel Knievel movie came out with George Hamilton as Evel Knievel.
Oh yeah.
And kids were kids were like jumping shit on their bikes, man, setting up these these jumps on these cinder blocks with pieces of plywood with these bikes that they put together. Like I said, they weren't BMX bikes, and like I'm saying, those handlebars never would stay, and there were so many dudes that would just, the bars would just go, and they just flip over the handlebars, bust their head or whatever, and they just go home or whatever. I mean, nowadays, if something like that happened, they'd be calling the cops, they'd be, setting out to tape, putting numbers on the sidewalk.
Yeah, we put some dirt on it. It was all good.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, people wearing helmets for no reason, just walking around with them, on their heads.
It's like something about Mary, right?
I'm serious though, man. I mean, why are people so afraid or they're gonna get hurt? It's like everybody, we gotta have, well, I guess it's a dangerous world, Bruce, when you're not living on, it's a dangerous, we were just saying, it's dangerous in the Talamanca Mountains, but just like there's flesh-eating bacteria.
Technically speaking, anytime you don't see me on camera for 5 minutes, if I'm going to the back to take a leak or something, it could technically be the last time you see me.
Jaguar, bird-land, spider, yeah, God only knows.
But when you live in nature, you're just living without all the security. Now, when you make your peace with it, there's a tremendous freedom, and it amplifies your spiritual life and your submission to the divine, because you're kind of always living in the moment, and that's good. But whatever's going to happen is going to happen, man. Like, it's just going to happen. So, and then there's all the human violence down in town, which is, the Washington Post and the New York Times have both written stories about Costa Rica in the last 2 weeks. And it's like, I don't know what's going on, if the U.S. is going to intervene. I know the DEA's down here big time. Guys, they had a seizure last week of like 80 tons of cocaine they found on a boat, and DEA was involved.
Where's it going, man? I mean, it's
Europe, man. It's all Europe, right? So Mexico has got the American market with the border, and Costa Rica, the Port of Limon, is the main distribution port. It's 80% of the cocaine going to Europe leaves my province. Port of Limon is 45 minutes from me, including getting down the mountain.
But no, what I'm saying is, who's snorting all the cocaine is what I'm saying. Is cocaine now, are millennials and Zs now snorting a bunch of blow?
I think it's been kind of normalized, yeah. I mean, I watched a movie on Netflix a couple weeks ago, People Like Us, stupid movie, Eddie Murphy and that fat Jewish kid who got skinny. I forget his name.
From the superhero movie. Yeah.
Yeah, but they legalized cocaine in
Jonah Hill.
Didn't they legalize?
I mean, they pretty much normalized cocaine in that movie, like it's just like marijuana.
Didn't they legalize it in Vancouver?
What they want to do is they want to kill a lot of people. But basically what they figured out, and maybe they did or the AI figured it out, I don't know, is if you leave people alone, they're pretty good at killing themselves. So deregulate everything.
Hey man, you can't let the masses know there's replicators, dude. Because once you get to the point of the replicators, you don't need anybody else. You know what I mean? Once you reach that, if you're here when you got a microwave size replicator, and you're living in what is the dude from Zeitgeist? What is that? The second movie? I can never think of what the name of that movie is, where he's got the plan for the. What is it? The Venus. Yeah. See, we keep coming back to the Venus Project, man.
Well, it sounds like a good idea, honestly. We weren't thinking about the whole Satanism aspect of it. It's not Satanism. That's the whole thing. It's just making the idea of Venus being Lucifer, right?
Anything.
Analyze it. Alex Jones is one that brought that to that level.
That's because they were getting popular, man. It was right at this moment in the alternative media where Alex Jones was really taking over. And he was really starting to get big. He wasn't just making documentaries anymore. Like he used to make like a documentary every 9 months or whatever. Him and Aaron. You know? And then he quit making them, and it was just like this moment, and Zeitgeist was getting all popular and everything. And then they were coming out with the second movie, and he was nervous they were going to take over. So he comes into the Venus Project. Satanism, man. Venus means Satan is the morning star. Or whatever. But, I mean, don't they say Jesus is the morning star, too? I mean, isn't that confusing for people?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, don't even get me started on that.
Bruce is confusing.
Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, so that's the thing. Like, there's hardly ever a good discussion on the semantics of any religion because people are so caught into their own biases they can't see through them. So it's really difficult to have a really good conversation about it because most people don't know the ins and outs of their own religion. You know?
Yeah. So look, man, in the last like 20, 25 years, well, actually almost like 40 years going back to like the early 80s when Holy Blood, Holy Grail came out by those French researchers, which was, I guess, kind of an antecedent to Dan Brown and his nonsense and all that. But
Dan Brown totally ripped them off. Yeah.
Modernity and postmodernity have brought a number of new perspectives on Jesus. Okay. And so there was Epic, help me out here. Who wrote Caesar's Messiah?
Oh no, he's on the network. Oh God, I want to debate him so bad. And yeah,
he's on what network?
Hold on a second. Yeah, he is. Hold on a second. Not our network. Not network. Yeah, he's on our network. He was on Revolution Radio for a while. He's on his network here, our network, and what the heck's his name? Oh man, go ahead, Jimmy. I'll think of his name.
No. Hey, so
you can look it up.
So here's the thing. So before you just hold that thought, Bruce. Hold that thought.
I wanted to deal with him about Josephus.
Okay, you hang on a second. Hold that thought, Epic, because Harry wants to join the conversation. Bruce, you know Harry.
Harry Springford Williams,
yes,
the lunatic from Australia.
Yeah, the very one.
I'm entering a polite caution about letting him in, but I will let him in. He knows I'm joking. I love Harry.
All right, well, I'll let him in a minute because I want to tell you, we also have another guest that's going to be joining us. Tim Moore is going to be coming on here with us too. So I want you guys to get into this, and then you guys, Harry and Tim, just stand by, and I'll add you guys to the call momentarily. And please mute.
Josephat will.
Yeah,
Josephat.
And please mute yourselves until the appropriate moment. Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Bruce McDonald. Are you? There's the concept.
So
go ahead.
The latest idea floating around is that Jesus is really Lucifer. But when you just say it like that, it sounds stupid, right? But you got to hear a real incompetent person talk about this. Now, for those who listen to McDonald in the Morning, I did a show just after Easter, I think Monday, on the massacre of the innocents, which is only in the Gospel according to Matthew. And I concluded that an all-knowing God outside of time would have been able to know that birthing his son into the timeline would have compelled Herod to do a Moloch ritual of hundreds of baby boys. Nobody knows for sure how many they were. The edict was relegated mainly to Bethlehem and the surrounding areas because the soothsayers told Herod where the birthplace of the Christ would be. So I never made much of this Lucifer and Christ thing before, but when I took a close look at the massacre of the innocents, I went, oh my God, like even Yahweh wasn't even able to enter the game without a massive blood ritual with children. And you can't avoid it, okay? There's no way you can let an all-knowing God off the hook. He looked at the equation and said, 200 baby boys under the age of 2 to get my son into the timeline, to get my message, and he made the deal. Okay? So the God of the Bible, even the Christian God, is in on the blood sacrifice stuff.
Well, I'll say this: like the process, before it's called the Process Church, the process had the whole thing where the Trinity wasn't, as we call the Trinity now, was God the Father, Satan, and Christ, and that Christ was the intermediary between the two, basically, and that was their belief system. And so it's not as novel as we think, I guess, that people would glom onto that. But the thing is, and they practiced it in a bizarre, well, bizarre is not fair, a focused way, a super focused way. They were these auditors from Dianetics, before it was Dianetics, when it was Owen Hubbard's first getting started, and they branched off into this thing where they super focused attention on each other, looking at people's eyes, like for hours at a time, to where they tried to get an ESP, a literal ESP connection with people, and those people followed them through their lives, man. I mean, it's their lives, So the point being, that there is something to the fact that we are multidimensional beings, and they're trying to appeal to every dimension.
So S90 in the chat says Bruce is neglecting the ability of an omnipotent God to make the suffering of innocence have purpose and be healed.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm not saying
the process is right. I mean, that's just basically that's basically the Christian doctrine of suffering. And by the way, that gets really perverted too, right?
Isn't it Buddhist doctrine suffering also?
It is.
What?
Buddhism mitigates it better, though.
I'm just saying.
The middle path is.
The suffering is what it is, though. The thing is that right. The thing is in the suffering is how you get the wisdom. You know what I mean? You can't get the wisdom without the suffering, and you have. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, if everything's just a friggin' allegory and a story to be told, to teach a lesson that runs through is literally the fabric of the universe. So I mean, how do you describe the fabric of the universe to somebody? You have to come up with a way that they can understand how you're explaining it.
Right. It's quantum physics for dummies. That's what it is. Right. I mean, that's really what it is. So I'm curious. So Bruce, you brought that number 200 forth. Was that something that was just an example, or is that something specific that you had, the 200?
Well, there's some stories out there that it was thousands of babies that, like, Herod went a bit crazy, right? And then what the most balanced approach I found to it was actually the Catholic Encyclopedia, and they did a piece on it, and they said, okay, look, this is a controversial thing. And curiously, it's only in Matthew. It's not in Mark, Luke, or John. Only Matthew has the massacre of the innocents.
The tax collector. Yeah, he was a tax collector. His focus was numbers. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
good
it's
call.
true, right?
Good
Yeah, it's appropriate for this time of day. I mean, tomorrow's tax day normally, right?
Well,
In America.
yeah, it is.
But
it
you know,
is
here's the
appropriate.
thing, though. 200 is significant because in the book of Enoch, it was the 200 watchers, right, who came down to earth. Those are the fallen angels. That's the 200. That's Samiel and Azazel and all this. That's them,
So,
right? So
the
Catholic
the Catholic Encyclopedia puts it at 2 or 3 dozen, like so 48 or 50 at the most. So I don't know exact. Don't quote me on the 200, but I had an epiphany, and all I wanted to do for the Easter show was go over the gospel according to Matthew, which is my favorite gospel. And what struck me the most, and this is true of all scripture, you'll find it in the Bhagavad Gita, you'll find it in the Tao Te Ching. It's you can just keep reading that stuff every 5 years of your life, and it's like you read it anew. And I found the same thing with the gospel according to Matthew, which I've read 24 times in my life, and I can't believe I overlooked that whole thing with the massacre of the innocents and how that was a blood sacrifice, right?
Well, let me ask you this question. This is just out of curiosity, and we've been joined by Tim and Harry. And Tim, I muted you, and I'll unmute you in case you didn't know that you're muted. Harry's here, but let me just bring this here to the table. Let me ask you guys. This is an honest question. What if somebody, say, got in control of a certain book and got you to believe a certain thing, but what they were actually getting you to do was it was actually 180 degrees out. So the person that they put up there for you to worship was not actually the right person, but they knew who the right person was. And they spun you out and had you thinking that somebody named Lucifer was the one you were supposed to be afraid of, but really it was the Jesus character. What about that? That it's 180 degrees out. I mean, have you ever thought about the fact that people walk around with the implement of torture and death of their Savior? You know, a cross on their neck. They sit below it. They sit below it and eat flesh and drink blood in some of these Catholic rituals. Go ahead.
All I'm pointing out, Jimmy, is that you can't escape blood in the 3 phases of the Abrahamic religion, okay? Now, you look at Buddhism or Vedic yoga, Ayurvedic yoga, or Taoism, or some of the other paths on the planet. A person has a yearning they can't quite understand at 13 or 14. They're a seeker. In a structured society, they ask their parents for permission to join a monastery. They become illuminated and they benefit society. Nobody dies. No babies die.
Mm-hmm.
Why in the Western religion traditions is there so much death and so much sacrifice, especially children?
Yeah, I don't understand. But here's Harry. Go ahead, Harry.
Because the Abrahamic law comes from the worship of Moloch, and that's where it all comes. That's where it all stems from. Is this again this hedonistic approach to subvert the course of history or course of the future by their own agenda? And this is a heavy underlay or overlay, because I don't want to upset the Mexicans, in the fact that it's the expansive knowledge of history that we're not taught in our schools, in our education. And when you start listening to scientists who from India, who have been brought up on the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita and all the other stuff, they have this science that they can explain through their university, through their teachings, that ridicules this British imperialistic standard of measurement of what their culture is about. So you've got this package deal that we've been born with that is a sort of overlaid. And again, the Romans, used Mithra to influence the Son of God as well. So this is how it all sort of came about on the Christian bent. But really, the whole prognosis is the Messianic age is what all they're talking about. They should be talking about, not the darkness, age of darkness, because there's always the darkest before dawn.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's interesting. Yeah. I just think it's interesting just from a marketing perspective that I'm sure if you counted the amount of times the word Satan or Lucifer is said on the internet would greatly outweigh, the amount of times that Jesus is said on the internet. And then for whatever reason, if you say that, all of a sudden you seem to get attacked because there appears what's going on from the social engineering perspective is people are being programmed into thinking that these micro groups are way bigger than they actually are. And it's way easier for you to join a group if you think, oh man, look at this group. It's over here. It's big. It's doing this. It's doing that. And people start joining on there. They start getting into it. Or you can make anything big or seem giant. You could take, you could take anything. You could find all 7'5" people and put all of them on TV on every single show. And pretty soon, you'd start thinking there was giants everywhere in the world. You'd be thinking there's 7'5" people walking around everywhere, just because you get broadcast that information over and over and over again, and to the point where you could literally make someone think they're seeing it. You show them a dog, you can have them call it a cat, and they can argue with you. They'll argue with you to the death, Harry, and say that is not a dog, man. That is a cat.
Yeah, I had that issue when I was young because the first book I ever read, kindergarten, was Harry the Dirty Dog, and but I always knew I was a cat.
See? No, hey, so listen, Bruce McDonald, let's bring hang on a second, let me change screens here so I can bring Tim in. So hang on a second. I don't even know what's going on here. Oh, there we go. Let me bring Tim in. So Tim's a musician and he's a longtime listener of the show, and he's going to come in and join us tonight. Talk about some stuff. Oh, wait a minute. Let me get him back. I think I dropped him there. But anyways, he was going to come in and talk to us a little bit about some of the stuff he was doing. And he was working in the music business at a couple clubs, and we're going to talk some about that. See if we can get him back there. Hey, Tim, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. There you go.
Right on.
Yeah. Good to have you, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So just, stand by, man. We're in the middle of a conversation about some stuff right now. Did you have anything you wanted to add to the conversation? I mean, feel free to jump in and add, whatever you like. If something we said so far has struck your fancy and you have something to say, please feel free to jump in anytime.
No, I'm good, man. Thank you.
Yeah. So here we are, and I have this piece, and Bruce McDonald, did you have a chance to watch that promotional piece that I sent you earlier? That chunk. What'd you think of it? Did you feel that it sort of touched on some of the things that we've talked about on the show, over the years? It pretty much sounds like a program, and we've been pointing this particular idea out for quite a while. What did you think about the movie itself? Does it have value? That's the thing, is you got.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. Yeah, I mean, it's nothing new to us here at Into the Microcosm, right? I mean, why don't you just set it up, Jimmy? Give the title and all that.
Yeah, I'm going to. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a video that was taken of a symposium that happened. Here, let me get through this commercial real quick. So this is a video of a symposium that took place. And basically the name of this was called SciCon 2019. So, hey, Tim, is there a way you can mute up? Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, so if you can just hit that mute button while this is playing, that'd be killer. All right, so information warfare, defining and analyzing, SciCon 2019. And let me just let me get this thing going here. It's into the microcosm. Let me know what you think about this here. Here we go.
New topic for operations, and the title is Information Warfare: Defining and Analyzing. We'll touch something regarding social network analysis and data analysis. The moderator for this panel is Donara Barojan, and she's a disinformation information warfare expert. Donara advises private and public sectors on how to address disinformation through strategic communication and digital resiliency. Prior to becoming a consultant, she served as an assistant director for R&D at the Atlantic Council's Digital Forensic Research Lab.
Effect. So I'm going to be talking to co-authors in learning and social network analysis to research social phenomena in the digital domain. Alicia is an incoming research engineer at Graphica, and today she will present her latest research paper on how social network analysis can help us analyze and counter information operations. Alicia, the floor is yours. Thank you. All right. Hi, everyone.
All right, before she gets started, so these are active measures, ladies and gentlemen. These are operations that are going on 24/7 on the internet. So like we've been saying, the battlefield of the future is now, and that is the minds of Americans and everybody else across the world is being manipulated by armies of people sitting at keyboards. They're working from home, though. It's all good. Here we go.
Same thing.
My name is Alicia Barger.
I'm sorry, what'd you say, Harry?
It's exactly the same thing happening here in Australia. You're talking about the pressure of prices and, of banks getting rid of mortgages and things like that, before. And my mum's in the same situation. She's a 77-year-old woman on her own looking for housing in Mildura, and she can't find anything within her price range because everything's just gone out of control.
Mm-hmm. Well, they want everybody just living in, basic communal living, getting a box of calories every day. But, I mean, part of the way they're going to get, like I said, if what we were talking about earlier, if the replicator exists, they're scaring people into committing suicide because they're thinking about having to eat bugs right now. Seriously, and if you look listen, I mean, seriously, if you look at the destructive process of the food chain in a world that goes to the grocery store to get their food, the people that are putting that food on the shelves are closing shop. And pretty soon there's only going to be, it's going to be just like you heard about. It's going to be one bank, the Federal Reserve of the world or whatever. It's going to be one kind of clothes you wear, and that's going to be a gray jumpsuit, and you go down and you get it when you get your box of food. You get your new jumpsuit for the week. And no one's going to have a problem with it because they're going to have this right here. Information warfare, active measures. The ghost in the machine, ladies and gentlemen, is what we're talking about.
As just stated. But really, this paper was produced alongside some really talented co-authors at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab in Accenture Federal. So I'm really excited to present to you this work in recognition of Stephanie Yanis, who couldn't be here today, and Ian, who could. So thanks, Ian. All right. So let's get started. So disinformation and information operations have become publicly famous terms in light of recent events in Europe and the United States. However, these are issues that affect countries all over the world, both internally and as a result of, interstate and internal state. So as legislation is being developed by these different states to try and cut down on attacks, we need to think about what kind of technical approaches we can develop.
Who are these states and what are these attacks she's talking about?
To help support the legislation in a way that's both scientifically and ethically acceptable.
Help support legislation that's scientifically acceptable? Man, this is just like common language. There's 300 people sitting in this room, and this is just normal. It's, hey, you know.
Information operations is, as I discovered, a difficult term to define. So let me clarify this here. We're going to be following NATO's definition, military information activities that create desired effects on the will, understanding, and capability of adversaries, potential adversaries, and other approved parties.
Okay, hold on. Does that basically not include just about everybody in the alternative media?
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I mean, how do you know? How do you know who the enemy is? You know that enemy is just, where is it? No, you never know. You could just be You could just be talking about something that goes against the guidelines or whatever. You didn't know the guidelines exist. That's the thing. You don't know the rules exist till you break it and find out the hard way that, you know what, man, you're going up the river, Jack, in one of these private prisons because they got to keep those beds filled. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
But here, let me continue with this. Let's continue because, like I say, these are active measures on the battlefield of the future, and the future is now.
In this definition, I'm going to scope it more specifically to focusing on identifying covert or non-disclosed campaigns that have offensive objectives, that is, intending to create negative effect on the will and understanding in particular of others, and campaigns that seek to produce a behavioral, psychological, or social effect.
So we're just, it's just everyday knowledge that those campaigns exist. And they're just out there already, and we just need to do something to be able to protect people from it. In other words, they're admitting right here that is actually going on. They're admitting everything that everybody has made suppositions about and wrote books about, and Cambridge Analytica, blah 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 blah. You know, Cambridge.
Yeah, clamping down here in Australia too, in Queensland, same thing. It's going on. Like the police commissioner announced that they're going to elevate fines and for speeding and all these other things, and also get everyone to start doing a driver's test, and just get into this pattern of doing a test. But really, I've been thinking about, as I'm driving around, writing to the commissioner about things that I'm going to send him, and one of the things I thought about was to say, look, consideration of the death toll being 299 this year, whatever it was. And look, there's been a flux of migration to the state. The roads are in complete disarray. I said, shouldn't you be anything that you're going to do as far as funding goes, if you're going to put back into the community instead of keep it in your bloody coffers, mate, I won't say that, but I'll say it more politely than that, of course, is to advertise these driving changes that you're allegedly doing rather than running around stealthily booking people for things that they didn't even know that happened in the first place. It's talking about changes we made to the policies and laws. So, it's like they're meant to be doing us a service because they're public servants, so they need to be told so.
Well, what we're talking about is information warfare and defining and analyzing it at SciCon 2019. And we're right about a minute into this presentation, and I'm going to go ahead and roll this for a minute, and let's get into the meat of the whole reason I'm even getting into it at all.
So I'm going to be talking here mostly about the information and the effect it has on the human mind, rather than necessarily the technological equipment used to transmit said information. In some countries, this may be better characterized as psychological operations. Right. Now, with respect to that, I do need to clarify that there are some things that make online information operations a little bit distinctive from information operations in the past. This is because the online environment produces certain characteristics that are particularly interesting in this field. For example, it's much easier to collaborate even if you're anonymous. There's a unique multi-stakeholder governance model for the internet, and furthermore, the speed at which information can be transmitted is much higher, much faster than in natural environments. So I do need to recognize these aspects in the stock. All right, so why do I pull upon social network analysis? You're going to recognize this graph, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what it means. Social network analysis is more than just circles and lines connected together. Social network analysis is a field that's existed for several decades relating to understanding human behavior in the light of our social relationship.
Several decades, Bruce McDonald, epic journeyman, several decades. So at this point, it's a science, right? So they've tried something and they've repeated it over and over again, and they've gotten the same result. So there is absolutely no doubt. Period.
My
the
mic
end.
was muted.
Go ahead, epic journeyman. Yeah, there's no.
I had this whole diatribe going. No, I said it's from 2019. It's decades old at the point he's referring to.
20 years.
You know, it's 4 years old at the time that this video is made. She's talking about decades up to then.
Right.
Right. So we're going back to that Bay Area Stanford hiatus.
Exactly.
I won't say hiatus, you know, but I'm going to call it the lull where they did all this work, and then all of a sudden years later they reap the fruits of it. You know, in other words, that was the baseline. They established the baseline back then, and then they start applying it in usable terms because the technology didn't exist to use it yet. You couldn't have these feedback loops and filter bubbles be targeted through social media like you can today through the internet. There was no internet really, right? But now at all really. I mean, the only thing that existed was basically CERN talking to each other in universities. Mm-hmm. That's where it was invented, right? But up to that point, other than at the university level, there's no way to share and target individual information among individual people in the public, you know, as a group. But it enabled that. And what she's talking about now is fruition of things that were thought about literally in the 50s.
Anton LaVey and his buddy, he who shall not be named, and this thing called information warfare. The information war. Michael Aquino.
Mind Wars. Michael Aquino.
Exactly.
Wars, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it is Mind Wars, and it's taken Mind Wars from television and radio to the internet, developed a system that algorithmically programs people based on their web of activity on the internet. And psychologically profile. Everybody has been psychologically profiled. Remember when that used to be a thing? Hey man, don't profile me. Hey man, don't profile me. Remember that?
Yeah. And it was literally like a paper scan of different, you know, ideas with, you know, different mindsets people had were
about somebody. In other words,
profiles.
Hey,
yeah,
Jimmy.
Yeah.
Did I tell you the time when I went to the Labor Party policy development meeting? And the guy sitting across from me is the CIA, and he jumped up and down and carried like a pork chop, and he said, "It ain't going to happen, buddy. It ain't going to happen. You don't deserve it." Because I was talking about getting the hydrogen engines out of the submarines and putting them in a community where the salt pans have risen because they've put the Snowy River Mountain scheme and stopped the water flow going west and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, and clean up the water and have free energy for people, you know, or cheap energy. Anyway,
well, hey, listen, we're coming up on there was
a special ops guy right next to me.
We're coming up on the break here at the top of the hour. So we're gonna have about 10-minute break, Tim. And then let's shift gears and bust over here and start talking to Tim. Tim, can you hang out? I'm sorry it's taking so long, man. We were on a roll there with some information. So, can you stick around, Tim? Pass the break. You're muted, bro. Here, let me unmute you. I got to go over there and I'm the mute master over here. I got to roll over to that window though. So, anyways, in the microcosm, it's Revolution Radio, it's freedomslips.com or freedomslips.org or whatever it is. I don't even know. I think it's revolutionradio.radio. I don't know, man. Who the hell knows?
Revolution.radio.
Revolution.radio. There you go. I'm out of the loop, man. I tell you right now. I'm out of the loop. Hold on, Tim. I'm gonna call. I think I have to, in order to unmute you. Here you go. See, that hung up on him last time too. All right. Well, hopefully he can stick around. All right. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Taking a break, and there is no break. That's a music break. Enjoy the music.
Listen to the sound of the music. Dance with me. Dance to the rhythm. Come on, baby. Listen to the music. Dance with me.
That's Vintage Satisfaction by Funky Destinations, the name of that band. It's Revolution Radio.
Lighting up the broken stones of time. It stretches like a shattered road to Eden. when love is standing flashing like a sign in the cobalt blue of television. We make love turn off the world. It's turning round. It may be gravity that holds you while it's spinning, but only love can keep your feet on the ground. So there is a new escape. We run a line in love and hate. It's tired and we're getting late. The wheels are spinning, spinning, spinning.
It's into the microcosm. Wakey, wakey.
Snowbound and wide high, freezing in the heat. Bandit in glad rags, I cool me on the street. Whispers in the doorway, promises and lies. Measuring your lifetime in bedrooms and size.
They are our masters! Wake up! They're all about you! All around you! Outside the limit of our sight, feeding off us, perched on top of us from birth to death, are our owners! Our owners! They have us! They control us! Sleep. Feeding off us, perched on top of us from birth to death, are our owners! Our owners! They have taken the hearts and minds of our leaders. They have recruited the rich and the powerful, and they have blinded us to the truth. Our human spirit is corrupted. Why do we worship greed? Because outside the limit of our sight, feeding off us, perched on top of us from birth to death, are our owners! Our owners! They have us! They control us! They are our masters! Wake up!
Friday night on the West Coast. Mom's Jimmy. Sitting here with Bruce McDonald, Epic Journeyman, and Ronnie Montrose,
the solitary figure.
Gamma 2.
Very soon, he has braved the storms of time. His life is on the line. He's been praying to a savior. Please take me away from here.
And our special guest, longtime listener, musician. I want to hear about your band and all that stuff. Tim, are you there?
I am here.
Excellente. Well, welcome into the microcosm. Apparently, you've gotten small enough to get through the door. Now, let me ask you this question. Have you ever seen Ronnie Montrose play guitar?
Interesting. Very interesting that you asked me, because I was just about to tell you my Gamma story.
No way. Now you've seen Gamma.
No, this is so check it out.
All right.
I played in a band in San Francisco back in the 90s, and we were going in to record a record with Troy Lucetta, the drummer from Tesla.
Uh-huh.
And he had just had Gamma recording there the day before we were there.
Wow.
And I was like, man, that is so badass.
I know. Well, they were like a Bay Area band for a long time. I mean, Ronnie Montrose, originally was the Montrose with Sammy Hagar vocal. And then he jumped over to Davey Pattison, which he was just listening to there. And then Davey, believe this or not, the house sound man at the club that I worked, this guy named Michael Briggs, Trower came through on a tour, and he had this dude who was a singer, and the singer he had was jumping around like David Lee Roth and shit. And I went up into the sound booth, and I went up to Briggs, and I go, Briggs, man, he needs to get, Trower needs to get Davey Pattison. And I swear to God, the very next album that came out, it was Robin Trower with Davey Pattison on vocals.
Passion,
and Michael Briggs ended up being the sound man for Montrose.
That's
also,
so cool.
I know he. The last thing I heard was he was working with Al Jarreau, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, Bruce McDonald, are you there? I see you there in the dark, in the Talamanca Mountains, deep in
I'm here, Jimmy.
in the heritage site known as the Talamanca. Bruce McDonald, Epic Journeyman. Now, come on in here now. Tim, you're here for, more than one reason, but I mean, one of the reasons, we were going to talk is because, you were, you had worked the door at, some popular places in your past, haven't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got some backstage stories you want to sling tonight.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got some green M&M stories.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. I've got some cool stories, I guess.
All right.
So, I mean, I worked at the Troubadour as a bouncer.
Did you now?
Yeah, from 2000 to 2002.
Wow.
And
all right.
Yeah, it was a cool job, man, because like I had just moved to LA from San Francisco, and I was going to music school down there at MI. And
yeah, stay closer to your receiver there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there you go. Now you're sounding better.
Yeah, so yeah, I got this job, and I wanted a job to work at a place like that, man. It was great because like the first night I worked there was New Year's Eve of 2000, I think the 2001, and LA Guns was the band.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was fun, man. It was a lot of fun. But
the Gunners,
dude, every band that was either going on the way up to become who they were was playing there, or the bands that already had some notoriety were going down playing there. So I got to see the best. It was just the coolest experience. Everybody came through there. I remember Jack Osborne, when he was still underage, they would let him drink at the bar. They're like, don't mess with him. He's that's Ozzy's son. I was like, I'm not gonna touch him, man. I ain't gonna say nothing.
Yeah, and, I mean that's the way it is, though. When it's just all on the inside, everybody's everybody. And nobody's going to say anything to anybody.
That's right. Yeah, special parties up in the Hollywood Hills, man.
Exactly. Now, did you go to parties in the Hollywood Hills?
Yeah.
We've never talked about this before, but I mean, I'm willing to talk a little bit about some of the stuff. I'll talk about some stuff tonight. I don't really talk about any of this. I don't really talk about it on the air. It's because if you're a person that's intimately involved in something where you're privy to other people's private and personal information,
Yeah.
The whole reason you're even in the room is because you're the type of person that can keep your mouth shut.
That's right.
And so lots of people, it's like, I don't have one picture of any moment I ever spent with any celebrities, but every moment I spent with them was not like a single moment where you could snap a selfie with it.
Right.
It's like, I mean, because the club I worked at, I was literally cooking dinner for everybody that came through there and bringing it into them. And they were coming back and sitting in my kitchen snorting blow. You know what I mean? And giving me a couple lines back in the 80s or whatever. So, so I mean, that's, kind of debauchery that people hear about or whatever, and it doesn't seem realistic, but I mean, it is, man. I mean, I'm only here because I quit drinking. But if I wouldn't have quit drinking, I'd be dead. What about you, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and more.
Yeah, I mean, most of the people I know from that time are dead.
Yeah. Yeah, either dead or in the program or found another way, and I found another way.
Yeah, I mean, what way did you find? I mean, did you find?
I don't know, man. I got locked up.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, when you got locked up, did you start reading books and decide to go a certain way? I mean, like for example, Malcolm X, when he was in prison, he started reading some Elijah Muhammad material, and then
Yeah.
he decided, he decided to go a certain way religiously. Did you find the Lord when you were in prison? Because nothing wrong with it.
No,
All right.
no. I mean, I had accepted God into my heart at age 5 because my parents were into like prayer groups, in California in the 70s. And so it was no big deal. Like I didn't find the Lord or anything, but dude, music was my savior because music's always been a big deal.
Yeah.
And getting taken away from my music was like my really big wake up call. I was like, man, I've lost everything. Once I get out of here, if I can get on the straight and narrow again, I'm never looking back. And I'm just going to go with the music. That was kind of my higher thing,
Well,
it's Ludwig van from Clockwork Orange, right?
Say what?
It is, right? Well, okay. So if you've seen a Clockwork Orange, I'm sure you have, but if you haven't, for the benefit of the audience, So in a Clockwork Orange, there's nothing that can reach Alex. Alex is unreachable. But the only thing, his one sanctuary, is Ludwig van Beethoven.
Yep.
And so he's getting off on watching all these things they're trying to deprogram him with, or actually program him with scenes of violence and whatever, with Hitler and the Nazis and all these other things and all these horrible atrocities. And then during the course of one of those things, with his eyes propped wide open, that's the name of the movie Eyes Wide Shut, right? Is based on that scene, where he is forced to watch this ultraviolence with Ludwig van Beethoven, the one thing he held holy. So in the case of what you're talking about, being denied your music, that's what it is, right? It's the same thing, kind of in reverse, but it's right. Like the one thing you suddenly know, the one thing that really meant a lot to you, and that's deprived of you. In his case, the one thing that was his sanctuary was denied him. Right, that's one thing that actually rehabilitated him.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was just gonna say. If all they ever did to a person was take away the one thing that they loved as their punishment, people would learn their lesson probably a lot quicker. Hey, did they play this one? Check this out. I get in trouble for playing this, but I'm playing it anyway. The Gunners. To put on the brakes. There we go. Rip and Tear by the LA Guns. So they were ripping and tearing, but I mean back by that time, what was the strip like then? Because I mean the last time I was even anywhere close to Los Angeles was in the late 90s. And I haven't been back since, and I'm not going back. Are you still down in Southern California now?
No, I'm out in Ohio.
Got the hell out. You're in Ohio?
Yeah, I bailed in 2003. Came out here with my wife.
Did you see the smoke cloud from that accident?
No, actually, I didn't. I didn't see it.
Good.
No. But I work, like, they just had an explosion in a factory this week, like maybe an hour away from where I work.
Jesus. See what I mean? It's everywhere.
I can't believe it. It's crazy what all the stuff that's going on with these,
I know.
explosions.
It's like the weird stuff that's happened around this show for the last 9 years. And we keep saying it's just a coincidence.
Yeah,
It's like eventually it's not eventually you got to just come to terms with the fact that, you know what, man, it's not a coincidence. And let me ask you this question now. Have you seen a video on Twitter? There's a dude, and he's at the Trump indictment. And this dude looks like an alien, man. I mean, I'm not like one of these people. I'm not looking for aliens. All right. But this dude has got an egg-shaped head and definitely looks like an alien, and he's sitting in the background. Now, it's not the first time I've seen one of these weird-looking people in the
No,
audience.
there's another guy, a Secret Service guy earlier, right?
Yeah, that Secret Service guy, exactly.
Yeah.
And then when Trump was president, I have a picture on my iPad of this picture that I copied. That was this guy that Trump was getting off Air Force One, and there was a guy standing there that was a complete giant, like he was literally twice as tall as everybody else. In relation to the wing and the ground and how big this guy was, he was definitely a giant. It looked weird. I mean, I'm just saying, it seems like there's these odd-looking individuals that pop up. And so if you go to, I guess, on Twitter, it's 77 Hercules 77 is the name of this guy's channel. So Hercules at 77 Hercules 77 if you want to see this video, if you're listening on the radio. And if you're watching on the YouTube, I will go ahead and play this video. And everybody else, you just have to...
Spiritual or some type of warfare going on here for sure. Look at his eyes. That is not normal.
It's not normal, ladies and gentlemen. Here he comes again.
Trump arraignment yesterday. Watch his eyes. Watch his eyes. Definitely not normal. There were a few of him there like this. Very obvious that we're in a spiritual or some type of warfare going on here for sure. Look at his eyes. That is not normal. Not normal.
It's not normal.
Can anybody tell me who he is? Secret Service? What was his purpose on being there? Because his eyes...
Look at his ear.
Something is going on there.
Forget his eyes, man. Look at his ear, dude. Look at that ear.
Send me the URL.
All right, look at the ear, man. Okay, look, I'm not one of these people. I'm telling you, but look, I'm just saying. Even if you're just like a rubber man, a biological android, a humanoid robot, one of these biological epic journeyman organic robotoids, they come back. Dr. Peter Beater's information keeps coming back year after year after year, doesn't it? And it's only because I keep bringing it back up. because man, it's totally, back then when he was saying it, it sounded ridiculous. I'm coming with it, Bruce. I'm coming correct here. If I don't come correct, I don't come at all. So hold on.
No, I went and looked at it. That's okay. Yeah.
You got it
on your YouTube channel. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, it looks like a rubber mask over. Like, that is weird.
It's weird, right? And so he's got that elongated skull. You see what I mean? He's got the elongated skull, but the ear and the eye movement is weird. Now, I'll just say this. There's other people in this video that pop in and pop out. And just like him, their eyes are a certain way. They look normal. But when they look directly at the camera, like this dude that comes out with the beard, he comes walking out and looks over in this direction. His eyes are totally black. He's like a black-eyed, bearded fellow or whatever. It's strange. I mean, it's strange. I don't know. But all of a sudden, these weird individuals showing up at these events that are politically important. And I'm just wondering now, Bruce, what do you think about this now, Tim, Bruce, Epic Journeyman? Do you think it's possible that these?
I want to point out his angular features. He has a round head.
Let me go back.
All his features are angular, right? Like it's an angular nose. It's like two. I won't say perfect, but it's two.
If that is a real dude,
the symmetry is too perfect. Like,
let me
people
just
don't have
say,
symmetry like that.
if that's a real guy, he's got a dome. He looks got an egghead. His name was Egghead when he was in school. That was his name. It's like, hey, here comes Egghead, man.
Yeah, but in the symmetry of his nose and his lips and his facial features and then his eyes and the symmetry, that's so rare. Most people have a really big disparity.
But listen, doesn't it have that look of those Egyptian skulls? The domes on those Egyptians are pointed like that. They got that conish elongation.
From France.
They're from France, exactly. Maybe that's it.
Exactly.
That's it. He's from France. No, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with him, but there's always something. It's always some. There's millions, literally millions of people who think, who have the idea, who suppose that Joe Biden, or 3 Joe Bidens, and he's a biological robotoid, is what they say. And you know what? I'm gonna dig up Dr. Peter Beater. Epic Journeyman, jump in here, Tim. What do you think about this alien-looking dude showing up? I mean, have you seen these aliens showing up all over the place? All of a sudden, they're cropping up everywhere.
Not personally.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of weird folk out here in Ohio. That's for sure. But I have not seen anything like that.
No, that's what I'm saying.
You see what I'm saying about the symmetry? Like his weird ears, eyes, nose, and mouth are perfectly symmetric. The symmetry is perfect. Nobody has symmetry like that. And then he's got the weird dome head to go with it. I mean, that's what makes it unusual and unnatural. I mean, look at the peak of his chin. Look at the slit of his mouth. Look, I mean, come on. And the angles of his nose. I mean, these are like mathematical things you can draw. You know what I mean? Like, they're perfect. If not for that little bit of a slight bulb at the tip of his nose, everything in there is a straight line practically. You know? I mean, dude.
I'm gonna tell you what, man. I'll tell you what. Here, you just really sparked me, man. I have to do this. I must do it. So listen, I went and dug up Dr. Peter Beater. Now you can look him up for yourself. He was a broadcaster back in the day. He used to make tapes. Okay. So he made tapes, and you used to be able to get them, and he had shows and this and that. So I'm just trying to dig through this sea of information here with Dr. Peter Beater. But let me just do this for Epic Journeyman.
Tom Jones, and he's magnificent. It's not unusual to be loved by anyone. It's not unusual to have fun with anyone. But when I see you hanging about with anyone, it's not unusual. It has been another year. No matter what you say, you find it happen all the time. And then love can never do what you want to do. Why can't this crazy love be mine? Oh, it's not unusual.
5 months ago, I reported that Russia had begun deploying an astonishing new intelligence weapon. These are the organic robotoids, artificial robot-like living creatures that simulate human beings. By introducing the robotoids, the Russians were able to make a shambles of the Bolshevik plans then in progress. Preparations were moving fast for a new Bolshevik revolution here in the United States, but the Russian robotoids stopped it cold. Even more importantly, the joint Bolshevik and Zionist Middle East war plan was thwarted, at least for the time being. This prevented the Bolsheviks from going ahead with the rest of their plan for an American nuclear first strike against Russia. Since that time, the Russians have been pressing forward with their robotoid takeover of the United States. Within weeks, the year-and-a-half SALT II stalemate vanished, and the treaty was signed in Vienna. And for months now, major surprises have been peppering the news, which are the direct result of Russia's robotoid invasion. I alerted you to watch for these in AUDIO LETTER 46 and have commented on them as they have taken place. In topic number 2, I pointed out the continuation of the Senator Church robotoid strategy to undo the Cuba crisis and save SALT II. And this month there continue to be important new developments in Russia's robotoid takeover here. A very important case has to do with America's new relations with Red China. In 1978, the Carter administration was in a state of panic over Russia's newly deployed Russian military power in space. The so-called China Card policy was the result. America suddenly dumped Taiwan and recognized Red China last December. But the Russians are working fast to unravel the ties between the United States and China.
So now, see, here he is, Dr. Peter Beater. You probably never heard of him, right? You think Dr. Peter Beater. Or is it better? You think when he was in school, like the first day in class, they'd go, Doctor, it was like Peter Beater, and he'd go, better! My name's Better!
Frankenstein!
So, man, this is 11 minutes. All right, he's actually talking about politics that was happening in the day, but as a retrospective for evidence of revision, we can hear that. Look at, when was this? He died in 1987, so I don't know when this originally came out, but he's talking about Carter. He says Carter was an organic robotoid in another episode of this. It might be AUDIO LETTER number 43 that he was talking about.
You gotta. I'm just thinking. I'm never gonna think of organic Sharpton the same now either.
Well, here he comes, Dr. Peter Beater. If you want to look him up, I'm telling you right now. If you like Bill Cooper, if you like Art Bell, if you like any of the big heavy hitters from the old days, Jordan Maxwell, he's on that level. He's kind of between Jordan Maxwell and Mae Brussel.
Federal district judge has ruled that it is illegal for President Carter to breach the treaty with Taiwan. Instead, he says, Congress must be consulted. Only last June, the same judge had refused.
All right.
It could hardly be better calculated to shake Chinese confidence in the old letters 46 and 47. I reported that robotoid technology in the United States is far behind that of Russia. But now, the Bolshevik and Zionist enemies of Russia have achieved their own surprise. The Rothschild interests, which control both movements, have for many years been deeply involved in biological research of all kinds. They have not succeeded in learning the secrets of the Russian robotoids, but they have achieved success with something similar. They are called synthetic automatons, or simply synthetics. A Rothschild synthetic is similar to a Russian robotoid in certain ways. Each is an artificial life form designed to simulate a human being. But synthetics also differ from robotoids in important ways. For one thing, they are generated by radically different techniques. Both utilize genetic samples from actual humans as their starting point, but beyond that, everything is different. The Russian process is a close relative of recombinant DNA techniques involving bacteria. The details of the process are shrouded in great secrecy, but it enables robotoids to be generated from scratch very rapidly. The Rothschild process, by contrast, does not start from scratch. Instead, Certain tissues extracted from cattle are the starting point. The synthetic is then generated in a process that changes the genetic makeup in order to simulate a person being copied. It is the...
Now, one of the things I like to point out about this bit of information is that this is a guy, okay, and he's talking about this in the 80s. This is way too detailed and it's, pretty much plain and simple as far as what he's saying and how he's saying it. And back then in the 80s, no one knew what the hell DNA even was. You see what I mean? So here he is. There's in no way would he be making up a lie this detailed with this much information about a specific technology that was available. This to me doesn't ring as a lie. And the thing is if you want to really be sleuthy, you want to be a real researcher, you get this video here and some of this information that he's going to spout out here in a minute or two about the holographic copy of a person's brain being inserted into one of these things. Go search up what he says and find out that, what, man, that technology exists to do that. So, magnetic resonance.
Growth of a discovery made 20 years ago in France. The experiment involved two species of ducks called khaki Campbells and white pecans. The landmark duck experiment of 1959 was reported in a book titled The Biological Time Bomb by Gordon Rattray Taylor. It was published in 1968 by the New American Library, New York, New York. Taylor described the experiment in the words, quote, "They had extracted DNA from the cells of the khaki Campbells and had injected it into the white pecans, thinking that just possibly the offspring of the latter might show some character derived from khaki Campbells. To their astonishment, the actual ducks they injected began to change. Their white feathers darkened, and their necks began to take on the peculiar curve which is a mark of the khaki Campbell." Unquote. Beginning with that clue of 2 decades ago, the Rothschild synthetic process has been developed in secret, and now, my friends, synthetics are beginning to appear on the scene. Earlier this month, on October 9, Carter Robotoid number 18 was scheduled to hold a news conference. 3 days.
Carter Robotoid number 18, man. This is, Biden, there's 3 of them. Look at this, man. You see what I'm saying? Do you guys see what I'm saying? Hello. Peter.
I see.
Peter Beater. Peter Beater is taking.
Well, first of all, a name like Peter Beater, you always have to wonder.
Better. Right. My name's Better.
It's Better. Frankenstein. It's Frankenstein.
Bruce McDonald, are you there? I think Bruce, are you still there? Bruce is no longer there.
It's a Jaguar perimeter check, man. You have to carry a big stick.
Days earlier, Brezhnev number 2 had made his proposals in East Berlin for military reductions in Europe. Robotoid 18 had been programmed to react positively to the proposals, but instead our alleged president said, quote, "I think it's an effort designed to disarm the willingness or eagerness of our allies adequately." This was a fresh Robotoid. Surely the recurring instability problem could not be showing up this fast. After the news conference, he was bundled off for examination and testing, and that produced the second surprise. It was not Robotoid 18 at all, but a synthetic. The synthetic was then transported to Novosibirsk.
So they malfunction, right? So it's the same thing that they're saying. They're saying that Biden malfunctions when he's up there and talking. So it's exactly the same things being said now as being said back then. And this guy back then is saying it like somebody from the future. In other words, he's talking in a language that back then in the 80s nobody would understand. When did O.J. Simpson go to trial? Because before then,
Well, without looking it up, I'd say 1992,
Okay,
3-ish.
before then, no one knew what the hell DNA was. People were snorting, blowing, dancing in clubs and discos. No, nobody knew. Nobody. Look at the clothes people were wearing in the 80s, man. Do you think they were thinking about DNA? No, nobody even knew what the hell DNA even was. So who was this guy's audience? You know, you see what I mean?
The only time they thought about it was when the black light was shining on them.
But even then,
Yes.
even then, they just thought it was leopard stripes or whatever.
Yeah. So no, I'm telling you right now, like
Cougar
the
spots.
thing is,
but
there's something to which this whole thought train about things that are spoken of as if they're commonplace in the past that we only understand now.
That's what I
right?
mean.
I mean, half of the Bible's that way. I mean, that's the thing. And so what Peter Beater's saying back in 1990 or 87, I guess now, is something that makes sense now, maybe. You know,
well, that's what I
don't know
mean.
how many organic robotoids there actually are, if any, but the technology is definitely there right now. That's the difference. Like he's talking about things in you know a blasé style, as if you know it's common knowledge.
That's
It's just
what I
like
mean.
the people in the Bible did.
That's what I'm saying.
Now
he
we just
had
now understand.
Well, I'm saying he had a newsletter called the Audio Newsletter, and he would send out these tapes. Okay, and so he what I'm saying is, who was his audience? Who back in his day? Let's say he's dead in 1987, so let's just say he was around during the 80s. You know, between 1921 and 1987, he was around. So who's listening to him that could understand what the hell he's even talking about? Who was his audience? Who was he talking to? Because he's talking to us now, and we understand what he's saying, and we can even conceive of what he's saying and apply it to something that we see today. And then we can listen to what he's saying, and we can go search some of the stuff he's talking about, and in the way he's talking about it. Like, go research those two ducks, what he just talked about. Go check that out. And he's saying that there was two distinct camps, the Rothschilds synthetic versus the Russian organic robotoid. Now, and the organic robotoid could be replaced quickly, like he said, where the other one has to be sort of grown out of some cattle or cattle skin or something. But anyhow, they do malfunction, and one of the things is they have to be kept cold. You know, the colder you keep them, the more they last. Just in retrospect, because we don't have much time for me to sift through the next 5 minutes of this video to find the part where he talks about the holographic copying of a person's brain, and then the collecting of your DNA and the scanning of your brain, and from that DNA this organic robotoid is created, and then your holographic copy is inserted into the brain of the organic robotoid, and it walks, it talks, looks just like you, it does everything that you do, it knows your friends for the most part, and it does, you know, it lasts for a period of time, and then when it starts to lose its you know, freshness, you know, it reaches its expiration date, it starts to flitch and glitch and blah 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 blah, blah, you know. Like a lot of those, I don't know, you've seen these celebrity glitches, you know, there's a lot of descriptions of them, you know, people talk about them, and people wonder about them, what are they, what's going on with these different people, or whatever. Eminem's one of them, another one's like Britney Spears, you know, there's this other black newscaster guy who glitches out. There's a whole bunch of people that have glitched, so, you know, they wonder, they say, well, you know, are they glitching because someone's taking control of their brain from radio waves and talking through them? And just
are you talking about not Bernard Shaw? That's not Bernard Shaw. You're talking about the weather guy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you start thinking about all this glitching going on. You start wondering.
Al Roker, right?
Yeah, exactly, Al Roker. But you start wondering, how much does it cost? Like, let's say you're on the inside track and you get the newsletter. This, you know where you can go get yourself an organic robotoid for yourself. Of yourself. But you got to have a certain amount of money to even be in that club. Let's say you're in that club, right? Let's say you get yourself an organic robotoid. You subscribe to the service, and when your robotoid runs out, you get a fresh one. And you pay so much money for each robotoid, and this way you can exit stage left and go live on the floating city that people live on that we don't know about.
Well, that's the analogy, though, isn't it? Like, if such a thing existed, it's like, damn it, Martha, we can't go on vacation this year. My robotoid broke. I'm gonna have to go to work. I mean, that's kind of the scenario. Wouldn't be.
No, I'm just saying, you got celebrities that are out there, right? So a normal person, when they want to just go somewhere else, no one, for the most part, no one's going to care about it. But if a celebrity like, say, Tom Cruise or whoever you're talking about, whatever celebrity from back in the day that was a celebrity, they want to exit stage left, they just get robotoids to go out there and, take their place or whatever.
I'll tell you where there's a real world possibility that something like this exists. And it's Saddam's doubles and Putin's doubles. They've got so many doubles, man. I mean, not Saddam Hussein anymore.
There's some.
But Putin, he's got. People know. I mean, okay, it might just be regular people, and probably are just regular people. But he's got at least a dozen body doubles that run around and do all this stuff.
Dude, there's probably full on. Some sort of material, some plexiglass or something material. There's full-on bodies in there. There's just no face. They just put a face on it. And and drop your memories in there and shit. And next thing you know, you got your Tim and you're telling stories about the troubadour. But really, it's not Tim. It's an organic robotoid that Tim's memories have been blown into his skull, holographically speaking.
Or it's the pantomime masks of ancient Greek theater brought back to life through the organic robotoid.
I don't know, man. Dr. Peter Beater, hold on. Let's just check back in with him.
For further study, there, robotoid scientists were able to establish an important and unpleasant fact. The source of the genetic material used in generating the synthetic had been Robotoid 18. And whereas the Russian
So what they did was they made a synthetic and they got the DNA and they thought it was the real person, but it was an organic robotoid. So their synthetic wasn't made from the original DNA of the subject. And they made a copy of a copy. Can you believe this, man? Literally, I mean, I wish I knew exactly the day that this came out. Maybe it says. Let me look. It doesn't say.
Well, like to me, it's all ridiculous at a certain level. But the thing is it going to be possible in the future? Absolutely.
Yeah.
100% it's going to be possible in the future. So the question is, at what point does the future become technology we just don't know about in commonplace today? And that is really the issue, right? Because they say the military is always 30 years ahead of the public, and I don't think that's necessarily true. It might be way ahead of that, or there might be members of the private sector who are way ahead of the military nowadays with communications and cellular technology and that kind of thing. So what is it? Where are we really at? The saying is, what the mind can think and believe, the mind can achieve. And that's true. That is true. So the very fact this guy was talking about it in 1987, and that people are talking about the golem back in the 15th century, or 16th century and before, means the automaton was something that was always thought of, and the mind could think and believe it, and the mind could achieve it. So when did it really happen? Is the organic robotoid real? It just might be.
Man, all I know is if you type in organic robotoids in YouTube, not only will you see Dr. Peter Beater in there, or better, you're going to see glitches. And I'll tell you, one of the glitches that was real interesting, and I don't know if you've ever seen this, but they take an infrared shot of Hillary Clinton in a group of people, you know, and it's showing heat, and in the room you see all the crowd, they're all orange and yellow, but Hillary Clinton is totally blue. Have you seen this? Because she's cold, man. She's metal or something. She's not emanating heat. Maybe she was an organic robot.
Are you talking about the one where she goes into the spasm?
No, but I mean that's another one right there. She glitched out, man. And that's just like organic robotoid number 72 for Hillary Clinton's gone now.
The Al Roker thing's really weird. It is.
No, man, I'm telling you, think about it. You think about these people that last forever and ever and ever. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying, it's
Clark.
like, man, this guy's like 80 years old or whatever, and he's going backwards. He doesn't look any different.
They got a painting in their basement.
Man,
yeah.
dude, show me one other president. Listen to me. Listen. Show me one other president that after he spends 4 years as president and he comes out and you don't see him for a bit, the next time you see him, his hair is gray. He's all fucked up, hunched over. You know what I mean? I mean, when 4 years of that shit will suck the life out of anybody. And you look at Trump right now. He looks like a spring chicken, man. He's looking even better. You know? I mean, maybe he's getting some head, injections or whatever that just like transforms your face and skull into, because he doesn't look like he aged a minute from that shit. And you could take a look at Barack Obama, man, with his gray hair. Look at him.
Uncle Remus, yeah.
I'm just saying, man.
Well, the thing is, like, with Trump, depends what picture you see. Like the one where he's getting the reins, he looks old. He looks really old. Then a couple of days later, he's out there. They got the picture. He looks all lean and kind of tan or whatever, sort of orange. And then a couple of days later, he's getting some kind of law thing going again. He looks old and fragile again. So I don't know, man.
Dude,
I don't know.
I'm just saying.
Camera does a lot.
Listen, there are so many of these ideas. Okay, I'll just throw a few of them out there. I'm not saying that it's what I think. That's the thing is people got to understand. If we bring stuff up on here, it's to discuss. If we bring something up, it doesn't mean that's what we think. Necessarily, unless you're saying what you think, right, Epic Journeyman? In other words, if you're talking about black cats.
Oh, that's right.
Being unlucky if they cross your path, it doesn't necessarily mean you believe it.
That's correct. If I say a cat has 9 lives and make a metaphor in an analogy about a cat having 9 lives, doesn't mean that I believe a cat has 9 lives. It's part of the mythos, right? And it's kind of a disclaimer you don't need to necessarily make.
Okay.
People should
so
know that.
Listen. So there's an idea out there, and I'm not saying I'm open to this idea. Actually, regardless of what you think, if you're a shapist, okay, but there's people that have an idea that there's continents that we don't know about. Epic Journeyman, that they exist and they're known about only by certain people, and you can go there only for certain. If you're a certain group of people, you can go there. But nobody else even knows it exists. No one flies over it. No one ever sees it. No one ever sails next to it. And if you find out about it, they probably snatch you up and decide what they're going to do with you, at that point. But there's that idea. And then there's the idea of the breakaway civilization where the technology has continued to advance. And because it advanced, it started to advance even more. Moore's Law, You know, and if it's 50 years ahead, now than it was 50 years ago, then now it's, you know, beyond anyone's even comprehension of what's possible technologically. And, you know, we were talking about the replicator. And, you know, you can believe when someone says some shit like that about something, you can pretty much assume that, you know, if they're saying it's going to happen someday, it's already happening. You know, the technology exists. Maybe the technology exists. I don't even know if I could say this on the air over here on YouTube, but the technology may even exist to completely heal somebody for, you know, whatever reason, while, you know, resonating with a certain tone for a certain, you know, period of time and a certain, you know, frequency. Who knows? Maybe it's healing. I don't know. You can't say. But what you can say is there's cities in the clouds. They talk about those cities in the clouds. They talk about, you know, traveling to another dimension just outside of our own perception. A place where, you know, everybody goes. If you're special, you get that little pin and you go over there, like that Disney movie. So there's a whole nother place where society is existing in the idea that we all want to live in that society in that way. You know what I mean? But there always seems to be this place that they say there is where people can go. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's Agartha. I mean, shown that a while weeks back, and I think that is historically and through mythology the closest thing to the breakaway civilization that there is. It's the idea that there's a civilization that's far advanced of us that went underground. And the inner earth is this inner earth society, right? I know it sounds crazy, but that's the idea. Is that during the first cataclysm that wiped out humanity, it's not the flood. It's what wiped out the megafauna and everything else 12,500 years ago. They went underground. Now they say it's 400,000 years ago in the Far East. Some even longer than that. But this whole civilization exists inside, right? And that is what occasionally comes out and guides us. It's not aliens, it's them. So it's kind of funny to think about in the way that how we think that aliens will somehow save us by having this superior wisdom or whatever coming from the stars, and yet in the Far East the idea is that these people who went into the inner earth will come out and guide us because they've been guiding us all along with the Mahatma and all that stuff, right? So I think that's it's just fascinating. The mythology ties these things together all the time. We need this idea of not just a savior personified in Christ and Christian religion, but also this idea of a savior kind of
I'm just saying, if there's some place where you get to, it's Cloud 9, dude. You ain't in the club unless you're in the club, and you don't even know about the club, you know. And you push the rule about
that's the whole point. Yeah, they don't. In other words, this breakaway civilization, whether it be from the stars, in the stars, or under the earth,
on another continent that you don't know
or
about.
another continent. Yeah, exactly.
I'm just saying, look at those maps, dude. I mean, look at you. I mean, the thing is like, just from a psychological perspective, when you look at all of those. When you look at the ability of just over a couple hundred years, if you were starting over, if there was a great reset, and over a couple hundred years, of all the knowledge up until that point were lost, and there was nobody there who knew about it anymore, and you were the group of people that just put the books together that you shoved in front of everybody and told them this is the way it is, this is what happened, you know? What else are you going to believe, man? When you come into the world, you don't know anything. You know, you don't know anything, and you're taught what you're taught. And so how many years does it take to completely and utterly change the idea of what history is because your daddy told you and his daddy told him? And his daddy was an orphan. You know? His daddy was a Cabbage Patch Kid. Yeah, man.
They do. It's one of the common threads of our show over the years. And I'm telling you, it just keeps coming up. It just keeps coming up.
I know. Just ask your family, like, you know, ask somebody in your family, like your grandma. Was your grandma an orphan? You know, was your great grandma, great grandma, granddad? Were they orphans? Because I mean, it was just weird because I asked two people and both of them said yes. Now you said, was it you or Rio that said yes? I think it was Rio.
I said yes about one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, Rio was too, and another really good close friend of mine was also doing that, also said yes. So it's interesting, though, just because I mean,
math is blind about that kind of thing. So you can do probability tests based on this. Like, what are the odds of that happening from a specific gene pool of people? That there would be that many orphans per capita? And it's pretty interesting to see the results. I guarantee if we actually did that math, made some kind of survey on Twitter or something. I'm curious because the math doesn't seem to add up to me. Personally,
I think it goes back to
first impulse is it doesn't seem to add up.
I think the creation story has a lot to do with what Peter Beater was talking about earlier. Because, clearly, at some point there were larger people. And then at another point, people got a lot smaller, like we are now. And, so I don't know. You see this, the idea of the Virgin Mother. Is a perfect idea of the exactly that. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying when you think about Jesus and he says you too can be as I am. Do you think that that's what it means? That everybody that is born has the potential to be the son of God or the daughter of God, because we're all I'm just saying because we're all
that's absolutely Gnostic view. But it's also, I'm not saying that in a bad way. I mean, if you believe, he is absolutely insinuating that you can be as he is 100%. That's 100% true. There's not any ambiguity there. You know what I mean? He's saying you can be.
The only way to the Father is through the Son, right? So, and the Son is the product or the offspring of a virgin birth, which would conjure the idea of some sort of new entrance into the world at that point, of a new version of humanity.
Well, you just brought up one of the future show right there, the whole idea of simulation theory. You know what the idea of simulation theory really is? It's creationalism. Simulation theory means somebody made the simulation, right? That simulation creator is God, if that's the case, right? So simulation theory and Christianity have nothing at odds with each other whatsoever, if that's the case, because the creator in this case would be the divine source. So if you look at it from that perspective, all of a sudden, all the technological aspects of creating a simulation in a simulated world are all of a sudden more profound than we ever thought they would have been. Because once you reach that concept of crossing from what is the boundaries of reality to what is reality, all of a sudden, everything's on the table. Stay tuned next week for simulation theory.
Well, let me ask you a question. So the thing is that the biggest thing that supposedly separates humanity from God is this original idea, this original sin. Right?
Okay, yeah. So
I mean, so what was the original sin? Really, though? I mean, what really was it exactly?
Knowledge.
But was it knowledge or was it carnal knowledge?
No, it says specifically it's knowledge. It specifically says that implicitly in the Bible. That's exactly what it is. The fruit of the tree of knowledge, of that you shall not eat. Yeah.
Well, man, we got 1 minute left. All right, stick around. Tim. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be back next week. My name's Jimmy. That's the Epic Journeyman. That's Tim Moore. Hey Tim, do you have any music out where people can find it?
Just stuff that I do on my YouTube. It's nothing really. It's just stuff that I mess around with. Nothing really.
All right. Well,
yeah.
All right. Well, hey, it's good to see you, Smurfs, over there. I was actually thinking about you recently. All right, listen, we got to get out. We'll see you next week, Revolution Radio. We'll see everybody tomorrow night, Independent Broadcast Network, 7 p.m. Pacific. Stand by. We're off Revolution Radio. I'm about to say goodbye. Hang on, I'm about to say goodbye to Independent Broadcast Network. It's been good. It's been real. And now the time has come for us all to exit stage left. So, Independent Broadcast Network, see you tomorrow night, 7 Pacific. Okay, there it goes. Independent Broadcast Network. Alright, and let's see here. Hang on a second.
The nights are light with midnight cheer. Our dust still unsettled. I feel the plucking of our petals. I'm drawing circles, don't you know? Ecstasy that wants to grow to a garden
territory. Alright, YouTube. We're done over there. We're done over there. Now we're about to be done over here. Who was that? Someone sent me a message. I don't know who. I can't see. I can't see. Yeah. This is Morgan Page.
dangerous to get distracted. I'm drawing circles, don't you know? Ecstasy that wants to grow to a garden territory.
All right, there it goes. So hey, Tim, thanks for being here. Hey, listen, when Rio's here, I wanna try to get you to come back and hang out with Rio and Epic and I, so we can.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, we'll do it like a Saturday show though. So we can talk. Yeah, just talk about music and stuff.
That's very cool, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks, Tim. We really appreciate you being here, bro.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Hey, we love you, bro. Thanks for being
Love
here.
you too, man.
Take care.
Tim.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, thank you, sir. All right.
All right, bro. See ya.
See you.
There he goes. So when you guys see Tim in the chat, that's who he is. So there everybody goes. Time has come. I definitely got to go inside and get something to eat. I am dying. I'm Epic Journeyman. I got to eat, man.
Hey, something.
I know.
Something's better than nothing. Don't eat that replicator food, man. I keep telling you.
I need
Just take
fuel.
some supplements.
I need fuel, man. All right.
All right.
All right, you guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Thanks, everybody. Hey, Hyatt, what's going on? So, hey, John. Thanks, man. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Martin, Polly. Hey, don't forget Polly Nation tomorrow at noon, I think. I think it's at noon. Yeah, on the network. Check them out. Great show. I listen. It's nice. I got a lot of shit to do tomorrow, so, man, I got to get out. I'll talk to you guys later, eh? See ya.